The November 14th Town Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jeannie?
President DiMedeiros.
Present.
Vice President Burke.
Present.
Councilor John Edwards.
Present.
Councilor Janik.
Present.
Councilor Jay Edwards.
Present.
And Councilor Milbourne.
Present.
Consent agenda. Approval of Town Council minutes, October 23rd, regular meeting, Council Milbourne abstains, absent. October 23rd, executive session, Council Milbourne abstains, absent. Acknowledge receipts of minutes from the boards, commissions, and committees. Revitalization of North Tiverton Industrial Park, 1. Board of Canvassers, 1. Historic Preservation Advisory Board, 1. Historic Cemetery Commission, 1. Acknowledge receipts of reports from the Town Administrator Department monthly reports, October 2023. Police and Fire Department overtime reports, October 2023. Acknowledge receipts of correspondence, letters from Mike Napolitano recommending Dave Perry for Town Council C, letter from Michael Dakotas recommending Dave Perry for Town Council C, letter from Bob Martin recommending Dave Perry for Town Council C. CRMC meeting notice of Bowen aquaculture application, CMC file 2020-04-037. CRMC public hearing notice for proposed amendment to management procedures. CRMC public hearing notice for proposed amendment to Red Book. Approval of the tax assessors abatements, $4,512.30. Approval of license renewals, non-advertised, December 1st, 2023 to November 30th, 2024. See attached list for tobacco, holiday, antique, and victualling. Would any of the council like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Madam President, 4B1.
Anyone else? Like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda except for 4B1.
So moved.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4B1, Councilor Edwards.
Yeah, so I just wanted to pull this aside because there's some items that are being discussed at this subcommittee, which I think really should also be discussed here at the council. So if you look through some of the items here, there's talk of, the issues around infrastructure with North Tiverton Fire District, and then being at 90% capacity, which I think, as we all know, there's a number of proposed developments which would negatively impact them. And then also this discussion around an impact fee study. To me, I think that is something that the council should be doing, not a subcommittee.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
So, thank you, John. There's actually a number of things that at our next meeting we'll be discussing to bring forward, and we've already had some discussion. Oh, sorry about that. With Chris, for example, the Water Authority, Chris is aware of that. I've left that in Chris's hand to figure out when to approach us on that. We're going to be likely recommending that we have Rhode Island Ready come before the council at some point in the near future regarding the industrial park. And the impact fee, we had discussion, but we've never really seen that as our role, but certainly may make recommendations to the council on looking at that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just think when it comes to discussions around like implementing an impact fee, that's one that probably should just originate from the council and then.
But I'm not going to stop my members from having a discussion on things that they think they want to discuss if it fits within the overall purview, and then I direct them back to the appropriate body, whether it's us, whether it's the Economic Development Commission, or other places.
I think the reason why we formed these committees was to brainstorm, and once they get all the information together, of course, they need to come to us for some of the information. But I think we formed it so that they could kind of bring out all the stuff that we needed to not deal with, and the ones that we needed to deal with to bring to us. Same thing as your committee. Eventually, you're going to have to bring
Correct.
stuff to us.
But,
So-
but I would point out, though, that the scope of the Public Safety Committee is much more narrow in focus versus, and again, I objected to the expenditure of dollars on this committee because the scope was so broad. It was basically, here's just 50% of Tiverton, do something.
Well, I
And so-
think that's why we did it, because the scope was so broad, and we did it to get the members of this committee to narrow down our priorities. And that's what we do for every committee. Instead of us dealing with the big scope of it, these people come to us with what they feel is the important matters.
It's been an awesome committee with some great ideas, and we're very well aware that this committee does not have voting rights and those kind of things, but just to recommend and to bring suggestions to the council.
Yeah, just do the one.
So it's really been a very invaluable group, I believe.
I appreciate that. And just before I move passage, I would say that, as I said about impact fees, like that's something that we should be probably talking about that now. So,
Of course.
rather than wait for an eventual subcommittee to give some recommendation on impact fees.
No,
like,
we're not, so to be clear, we're not going to recommend what to do. We are going to recommend that something needs to be done pretty pronto.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious to everybody in the community we need to do something. So my suggestion would be at one of our next meetings that we take that issue up.
All right, I'll talk to Mike, and maybe we'll put some things on the agenda with Chris.
Oh, you're definitely on the agenda.
I always do.
With that, I'll move acceptance of 4B1.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor? Thank you. Public comments. Richard Siegel, crosswalk on Roosevelt needs upgrading. We're thinking the same thing, because I've been there all weekend, but go ahead.
All right, well, there's been some upgrades to the area, and there's been increased traffic, and it is a town road, correct?
Right.
Okay, Monday through Friday, you have families waiting on either side of the road, waiting for the buses to come through, which makes it more congested and reduced size of the road. Also, with the new upgrades that we have here, it is putting more people coming from the parking lot, crossing that street, which is, the crosswalk is very dull, needs to be repainted.
So where are you you're thinking the same crosswalk?
Yes,
Okay.
it needs to be repainted, and also it needs to have some signage indicating there's a crosswalk. I would highly suggest a speed hump or something. I've seen them around in Newport, Providence, East Providence, and they seem to work. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is there is a very large gray truck that comes through, and he comes flying through there. Also, there's a guy with a bike that's been reduced down to a racing bike, and he does the burnouts. You can see his tire marks all over the place, flying through there.
I didn't realize how fast people come down Roosevelt.
Correct.
But I've been at the dog park at least Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, and they are speeding through there. I also have a problem with the crosswalk coming into the library. It's very close to Roosevelt, and I think it needs to be pushed this way more, because when people round that corner, people are crossing and they're not seeing them. If it was midway down the library,
Yes.
then I think people speeding around that corner would see people crossing. I saw a family of 6 trying to cross and a car flying.
Well, my worst concern is either a dog just gets loose or a little child sees something and then runs off, and the parents got to grab the other child. What do we do?
I was going to put it on the next agenda, actually, to recommend that maybe we have DPW look at these crosswalks and see what we can do to make them safer. And I was actually going to put it on the next agenda.
Okay, but as a minimum, I think they need to repaint it and
Repaint
put
it.
some
It's very
signage of some
dull.
sort as a minimum. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Just to ask you, the crosswalk for the library goes from the library,
No, so when you're coming down Roosevelt and you're taking the left to the crosswalk, to the library, the crosswalk is right
it's right
there
there.
at the entrance.
Right where the sidewalk.
Right,
Comes
so,
here.
but the sidewalk comes, yeah, but
Right here.
the
but the
sidewalk
crosswalk goes where? From the library parking lot?
Across the parking lot.
goes right across the parking lot. And I think there should be a crosswalk, but what it is, it's right at the entrance.
Right.
So people are flying in and not realizing that people are crossing because they don't have the opportunity to say, oh, it's a crosswalk. They're bending in. So what I was gonna suggest is that we move it a little
Yeah.
bit towards the library, so that when people enter the library, they can see that there's a crosswalk and people wanting to cross.
Yeah, I think that's intended, I don't disagree, maybe another one, but that seems to be intended for those who might be walking up.
Right, maybe two, but
Right.
I just, go ahead, John.
I would just suggest, Madam President, that rather than wait 2 weeks for our next meeting and then have a discussion, it sounds like it's operationally something that the administrator could have taken.
I've
Perfect.
already-
So, I mean, what I'm saying is the administrator can take the public comment under advisement, and then we don't even have to be involved.
I've already talked to Chris about the crosswalks a couple of days ago. All right, so right now I'd like to entertain a motion to move 7E, F, G, and H up.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion's made and second. All those in favor? Board of Canvassers, Republican seat vacated 10/9, 2023, term ending 10/15/2024, alternate 10/15/2027. But we'll talk about that later. A note for the Board of Canvassers is the president nominates from this list. All listers are in order of preference from the different parties. So the order of preference for the Board of Canvassers for the Republican seat is Nancy Driggs. And Nancy just walked in. Right in time.
That's
No,
okay,
no.
we moved it
No,
up
I
early,
moved
so
it up.
you're fine,
It
you're
was
fine.
just that you came in just at the right moment. I don't know if we need to interview for these
Yeah,
seats.
we usually do.
We've interviewed Nancy. so many-
Nancy like
All right. The Republican chairman and the party is recommending Nancy Driggs as their top vote. I have the privilege to nominate out of this list. And since now Nancy right now is an alternate for the Republican seat. So I'd like to make a motion to nominate Nancy Driggs.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion?
Wait a minute, I want to make sure, did you get the second? John made the second.
This is for the Republican seat, which was just vacated by Deanna.
Madam President, I want to bring to your attention, I received an email late this afternoon from Alan Myers asking to substitute Judy Jones for Rob Coulter in the list on the Board of Canvassers.
Okay.
Rob is not available, and he also mentioned that Judy will be available for tonight's meeting to interview.
Okay. So a motion's on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, Nance, you got it. And you walked in right on time. Thanks for coming. Board of Canvassers open seat expired on 10/15/2023. 6-year term ending 10/15/2029. The Democratic Party has given me a list with Andrea Souza as the top person, and Nancy Driggs, who we just nominated and put on the Republican seat. The second would be Mark Constance. I would like to make a nomination for Andrea Souza.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I've got a comment to make. So I did what I should have done the last time we looked at this. I went through
Mike.
minutes and agendas and attendance. Now, far be it for me to tell the Democratic Committee who they want. However, since January of 2020, the Board of Canvassers has had 34 meetings. And of those, Andrea has attended 16.
I'd like to comment on that.
Wait a minute, wait a
Let
minute.
me finish.
But that was as an alternate, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
and
Well,
so-
that's
so then I
very
went-
important to,
Yeah, so then I went through, because I had heard, well, it was because of the times the meetings were held. And the meetings during that period of time were held anywhere from 2 to 6:30 in the evening. So the time didn't seem to matter.
Actually, it does
It does.
matter because the majority of those meetings were prior to 5 PM. The few that were after 5 PM, I did have class, so therefore I could not make those very few meetings. But the vast majority was because they were during my work time, and I have always responded to emails when asked if times were available, and have always requested them to be after 5 PM so I could meet them. And unfortunately, those times were not accorded to me, or to actually even other members who could not make during the day.
Madam President?
yeah, I just want to say one thing because it's important. I also looked at this. When Andrea missed most of these meetings were in the middle of the afternoon.
Correct.
There were 2 retirees on this board that could make it any time. And they did it usually in convenience with the town clerk during her hours.
Correct.
It was very vocal at the time, and I was here, because I've been here forever, that those times are not convenient for people who work. And I understand that because I work. But I also looked at that, and most of the times Andrea missed it was during work hours, and was very vocal that she could not attend during work hours. But because other members were retired and could do it, those were held at that time. Is that what you wanted to say, Chris?
Yeah, my comment was going to be, it was also done to accommodate the staff. So it would be
Right.
done during the day, working day, and it wouldn't be done at overtime after hours.
Right, but I've talked to Joan, and that doesn't matter to her, really.
No, it doesn't,
It
but-
doesn't. Most committees and commissions meet after work hours for everyone, because we all work. And yes, we're fortunate, some of us are retired or semi-retired now, that we can adjust it, but we don't expect that. So I just wanted to bring that up.
So the parting shot here was going to be, I would hope then, that in the future, the Board of Canvassers changes the times a bit to accommodate the group, not
And-
just a few.
And also, since becoming a full board member, I have actually left work early to make meetings. I also took a full day off from work, unpaid, to attend the Cybersecurity Summit as the member of Board of Canvassers, and I was the only member of the Board of Canvassers to attend that.
Which you shouldn't have to do those things.
But I did because of my
We all do
commitment to
that,
the
Jay.
board.
We all do that, Jay.
Oh, no, but.
So I just wanted to point that out as a full board member. I am making a commitment to do what I have to do to make meetings. And I don't want to put Joan or Sarah out and make them work overtime. I've expressed to them my gratitude for them making time to make the meetings later so I can make them.
Yeah, and I think it's the challenging times are obviously running up to elections and right after elections. And, it's hard to predict when meetings might be, but as
Yeah.
best as we can.
And last Tuesday for the election, I actually did not go to class. I told my professor that it was Election Day, and as a member of the Board of Canvassers, that I needed to be here for the polls, and so I was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. So, first off, thank you for all the work that you've done on the Board of Canvassers. I appreciate the commitment that you've made. But I received in advance of this meeting numerous phone calls from constituents who raised some concerns, which I think, after the recent appointment, or I should say non-appointment, of a member of the planning board would be germane, given the fact that Ms. Souza frequently takes to the likes of Facebook as a member of the Board of Canvassers.
No, I do
And
not.
expresses opinions which,
Excuse me,
With all-
Counselor. No,
with all due
I'm going to
respect-
All right,
stop you.
all right, wait a minute. Okay. My opinion right now, and I'm going to be very frank about this, social media is out of control. And I have wanted to respond, and I have responded and regretted it. Social media right now is out of control. And I think we all need to take a deep breath about this, and it's all of us. It's all of us. And John, I know what you're talking about because I saw what went on. And I don't think we should ever look at social media as a true fact of what's happening here in Tiverton. And I think we all need to refrain ourselves from being on social media. And if you've noticed, I haven't been on social media in 2 months. It's nasty and it's out of control.
so if I may finish my thought.
Yep.
I would like to ask that in the future, because again, these concerns were raised to me by numerous of my constituents, that such an important board has somebody who is active and potentially disparaging other elected officials, which, from the perspective of the Board of Canvassers, makes me wonder if, for some odd reason, I, as an elected official, had to come in front of the Board of Canvassers, am I going to get a fair shake?
Yes, you will.
Well, I
And
have to
my
say-
comments have been as an individual
And it
person,
hasn't had anything
not
to do with
ever,
elections.
ever as a member of the Board of Canvassers, unless it was due to elections, and I addressed myself as a member of the Board of Canvassers.
Mike?
John, did anybody give you examples?
Yes.
Can you provide some of those?
I'm sure I could pop on there and dig them up.
Okay, because I appreciate what you're saying, because I too try to steer clear as much as possible, because it becomes a swamp.
Correct.
And at the same time, if I am being asked to consider something, I'd like to have that information in front of me to know exactly what it is that people may have concerns about.
I will have to say that any comment I've seen Andrea make has had nothing to do with her position on the Board of Canvassers or anything to do with election stuff. I know what she's commented on, and it's not that.
No.
And she's done it as an individual. And quite frankly, as an individual, you're allowed to do it. Nobody can take that right away from you.
I
As long
understand
as you
that.
don't address yourself as she's speaking for the Board of Canvassers.
Again, I understand that. I just think from the phone calls that I received from my constituents, that it would be a wise decision to not engage in that behavior as on a go-forward basis.
So noted.
Can we open up the public comment?
There's no public comment on this. Okay, so I have a second and a, all right, so I'm going to let you speak
Thank you.
as a member of the Republican Party, and that's what you're doing, correct?
No, I just want to speak on the situation here.
All right. All
You
right.
guys also skipped, we did the Roosevelt out, but we skipped over the public comment piece, right?
No, we're going back to it. We moved this up on the
Yeah, I
agenda.
just want to make
No, I did the
a
public
quick comment
comment.
Oh, you did, that's right.
I did the public comment piece.
Yeah.
But I will let you speak.
so much. Yeah.
I need you to introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah, my name's Blake B. Hayden. I just live right up the road here, and I'm a fifth-generation Tivertuckian, so appreciate your time here. And I'm actually interviewing for the town council position later today, so,
Are you campaigning now?
yeah. No, I'm not. But I just want to say, under the charter, is it not accurate that if you miss 2/3 of the meetings, that you automatically vacate your position? Is that
No,
not an
that's
accurate
not true.
statement?
Nope.
That's not true.
And again, it was as an alternate, not as a full board
No,
member.
that isn't true.
Okay.
Well, the chairman's required to let us know.
Right, so if the chairman doesn't let us know, and also, I'll be honest with you, if there's really good reason why you're missing it, I don't think that you should be taken off the position.
I agree, and I have nothing against her. I just wanted to make a quick statement and ask that question and see if that was accurate or not.
And so the chairman at the time did not inform us of any vacancy, any attendance issues.
Understood. Just want to get that on the record. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, we rely on the chairman to know why they're missing the meetings, and if they feel it's a huge problem. And I've had chairmans come to me and said, these people have missed too many, and we've talked to the person, and they've come. So it's usually handled by the chairman. So,
Sure. Nope, I will take
Thank
note.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
just as a matter of record, the chairman did contact me with addressing Andrea's attendance. Recently, and I went through this with the then chairman and explained that there was not an issue because as an alternate, she's not required to be at those meetings. And as chairman, when she was just a member of the committee, her and the chairman at the time had decided to make those meetings unavailable by having them during the day. And it was unfair to hold that against her, somebody who was not required to be there. So I did look at all the attendance as it relates to Andrea during her time for her entire career as being on the Board of Canvassers. And I did address it with the then chairman when she brought it up when she was appointed after Bobby Harris had left. So it has been addressed, and it's not something that it's a moot point at this point. It's not something that Andrea had missed any of the meetings that she was validly appointed to as a full board member.
Okay. So now I have I've had a motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion? I did let someone speak. Does anyone else like to speak? I want to be fair here. Okay. So I have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Andrea. I almost forgot what we were voting for.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. All right. Board of Canvassers, Democratic alternate position, 6-year term ending 10/15/2027. As you see, the Democratic chair gave me Andrea Souza, but of course, we just appointed her. So the next person is Maureen Mora.
Back there.
Yep. Do we need to speak to her?
Sure, we haven't.
We haven't. I saw you walk in, I didn't see where you sat.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Maureen. Just give us a brief
Sure.
a brief introduction to yourself and why you would like to be
I don't know if this
on
is
the Board
on.
of Canvassers.
Okay, thank you. So I was approached by a couple people in town and asked if I would consider this, and I was interested immediately. I have been a lifelong voter, which I think is an important thing to point out, and more recently I've been a poll worker in Tiverton,
Yep.
and I've really enjoyed it. You know, it's a long day, but I've met some wonderful people, and I love watching the process unfold. I'm sort of a political junkie, but politics in general, you know.
Yep.
And I really believe in elections. One of the things that if I do have a seat on this, I would love to have some sort of effort by the Board of Canvassers to get young people involved. When I'm a poll worker, it's really, I have to say, it's very sad to see how few young people come in to vote. Like, you know, those of us working at the table usually have this color hair. And when a young person comes in, we're all like, oh my gosh, you know, look at this. There's 2 young people that just came in to vote. So I'd love to see a greater effort to register voters and get the young people involved in the process, even if they did like evening shifts as poll workers. It would be meaningful to them, and they could talk to their friends about it, you know, so that's really it. And I've lived in town for 26 years.
And you volunteered for
Yeah, I've been
several-
on the Board of Trustees, Conservation, you know, I pay attention to what's happening in town, and
Thank you. Any other questions for Maureen?
Not a question, just Maureen, thank you for your commitment to the town and your commitment to democracy, because I know you're very committed to democracy, and that's very important for this Board of Canvassers. So thank you for stepping up.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to nominate Maureen Morrow for the Democratic alternate position, 6-year term, ending 10/15/2027.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maureen. Welcome aboard. Board of Canvassers, Republican alternate position, which is now vacant because Nancy became a permanent member. 6-year term ending 10/15/2024. They gave me Nancy Driggs. The next name is Mark Constance. Is he here? Do you know who Mark is?
Yeah, I know. He lives like right over there.
Does he?
Yeah, he's above your father, right?
Yeah, he's at the top of South Ave.
What is the pleasure of the board? Do we need to
I
interview?
suggest we table this until the next meeting and ask Mr. Constance to be here.
Is John Cello here?
He's not.
Okay. Rob Colt is not here. But it's not Rob Colt anymore, it's Judy and Laurie Myers. All right, so we will, I'd like a motion to continue
So
this to the next meeting.
Madam President,
Yes,
well, actually, there's a motion to continue, so I can't comment, right?
you can comment.
I mean, listen, it's the Board of Canvassers, it's an alternate position, like, they're being handed to us by the parties. I don't even think we should have, interviewed Ms. Morrow. We should just appoint to these things. So I'm just confused as to why we're not just taking the direction of the party for here's their alternate, put them on.
Anyone want to comment on that?
That was mentioned when we appointed Andrea.
Well, I think one of the problems here is we're making everyone come so we meet them. So,
We've done it with all the other boards.
we've done it with every other board.
I don't have an issue with it either way.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to continue. All those in favor? Against? 2. You got that, Jeannie? 4-2. All right, thank you, everyone. Now we're going back. Public hearing is advertised. Approval of the proposed amendment to the Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Businesses, Article 2, Farmers Market, Section 22-6, to include a definition of music entertainment, the addition of a new Section 22-10, Music Entertainment, and renumbering of Section 22-11 to reflect the addition of a new Section 22-10. The change will allow music entertainment as defined in this section at a permitted farmers market on town-owned properties without the need for public entertainment license. Any comment from the town council before I open this? I'd like to open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this, please come up. One more time. Anyone would like to speak? I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move approval of the changes to Section 22, Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Businesses, Article 2, Farmers Market, Section 22-6, and section, for adding the new Section 22-10 and renumbering Sections 22-11 to reflect the addition of 22-10.
It's a little complicated. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion?
Let me ask something.
Go ahead.
So,
Microphone.
so the change is non-amplified
No.
voice or acoustic, and I will mention again that acoustic.
No, the change is amplified.
It just takes out non-amplified and makes it in
Right.
accordance with the Code of Ordinances.
It's going to be amplified from this point on.
It can be.
So,
It can be.
Yep.
But it cannot break the noise, the sound of it.
okay, as I have said before, my problem with this is acoustic music can be guitar, horns, drums, tubas, any of that kind of stuff, which in and itself can be quite loud. I think when we say amplified, we're thinking of somebody sitting on a stool with a guitar with a very small amplifier, but it doesn't say that. In addition, this is at town properties, of which there are at least 200, and many of them are embedded in residential neighborhoods. And I have a problem with the neighborhood not being able to comment on a farmer's market being planted in the middle of any neighborhood that has one of these town properties. I would much prefer if those town properties that are going to be used were defined, such as the schools or at the town farm.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, and I remember this correctly, right now, a farmer's market can only be done in certain areas, and it's the recreation area. So, and I'm pretty sure that's true. Mike?
To add to that, the farmer's market still needs to come before us for a license.
Right.
Okay, so we can say if they put it somewhere where we think it's
Right, and
going
right
to
now they're only
be more
licensed.
challenging, then we can not allow it there. Second, my wife is a fan of farmers markets, so I've been to more than I sometimes want to go to, and I don't remember, and here and elsewhere, and I don't remember ever seeing anything more than maybe a duo with guitars and the little speakers that you play. I don't remember ever seeing drum sets or horns. Not saying it couldn't, but I just don't think it fits the venue.
I've been to the farmer's market several times this spring and summer. It's actually a guy with a guitar and a little amplifier. That's all it is right now. But like I said, right now, it's approved there. If the farmer's market came to us and said they wanted it to be in a North Tiverton neighborhood on public property, we have the right to say no. So, John?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So I'm really confused because my recollection of the discussion that we had at the last meeting when we continued this here was that we were going to put in some sort of a decibel in relation to the noise ordinance, and I'm confused as to why that was not done.
So there is a noise ordinance already on the books that has a
Decibel.
decibel listed within it. It would be repetitive putting it in.
No, I mean, like, identify the decibel, like, not, like, so to get over this whole issue that we have with whether, what defines acoustic and can there be a small amplifier, the discussion was around stick in a decibel level that coincides with a decibel level at, as identified in the noise ordinance, not to exceed, and then that would have covered us. So my frustration here is that we're giving direction to redo some of these changes to our lawyers, and it looks like what's coming in front of us is just the exact same thing.
No, I think, go ahead, Mike.
I would disagree, John. I think we did discuss whether or not to do something now and then maybe modify it later. I think what our solicitor came back to us with addressed the concerns by tying it into the current sound ordinance, and what's allowed in times that's allowed, and even with the times that are in the sound ordinance, again, we would be licensing this. And generally, if you see a farmer's market that runs past 4 or 5 and starts before 9, well, maybe 8, but even then, they have to abide by the sound ordinance in terms of the decibel level.
John, I do recall what you're talking about, because originally it was non-amplified, and that's what our concern was, because the farmer's market is always amplified. We talked about the different, whether or not we're going to go with the sound. And I think at the end, Mike said he was going to look into it and just tie it into the sound ordinance. So instead of writing the actual number, he just wrote according to the sound ordinance. I think that's what happened.
But we're still getting hung up on this acoustic instrumentals piece.
I'm not.
Let me rephrase. Councilor Edwards is still getting hung up on the language, and I think it's fair because language matters. And it's again, I think when you think acoustic, you think of a guy with a guitar, as Councilor Edwards says, not a guy with a guitar plugged into an amplifier. So,
Music entertainment is voice and/or acoustic instrumentals. Yeah.
But we did take out the non-amplified.
Yeah, we did take out the non-amplified.
so if the farmer's market wanted to have, let's say, the band cancels last minute, and they have a boombox, and they put that out, and they play soothing music, they wouldn't.
As long as it
they-
meets the sound ordinance.
But according to this, it's voice and/or acoustic instrumentals. So technically speaking, they can't do that. Somebody could make the argument, is all I'm saying. And so why make it ambiguous when we can make it very unambiguous?
So how would you like to change it? Music entertainment
Music entertainment-
does not go above the sound ordinance.
Excuse me.
Why does
Yes.
it need to be amplified at all?
The ordinance
Because-
specifically references Section 38-141, musical instruments and similar devices, which is part of the noise
Similar
ordinance.
device.
No person shall operate, play, or permit the operation or playing of any drum, musical instrument, or similar device which produces sound in a manner or in such a manner as to create a noise disturbance across a residential real property boundary. Refer to Table 2 for applicable decibel levels.
So according
It
to the
goes
sound
on.
ordinance, a boombox would be fine as long as it doesn't go above the sound, the decimal level.
But why are we, if that's the case, then why are we defining what it is here?
Defining what, Counselor, I'm sorry?
What music entertainment is. It's defined right here. Music entertainment is voice and/or acoustic instrumentals provided for the listening enjoyment of vendors and customers.
My interpretation would be it's music entertainment for farmers markets is limited to voice and/or acoustic instruments.
So a boombox would not be
So we're right back
allowed.
here. So boombox would not be allowed.
No, and they've never asked for a
I'm
boombox to
just-
be there.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, and I don't think, the reason why we changed this is because those of us that go there know that it is amplified. But it's not amplified the way it's a little, like a.
Yeah, they plug the
karaoke
microphone in and they
box,
plug the,
okay?
yeah, I know
Right.
what they're talking about.
And you can't hear it from Main Road at all. You can barely hear it from the parking lot. So we decided that non-amplified, we needed to really change that. And if you go to any farmer's market, and I agree with Mike, I go to them all over Maine, there's always a little guitar player there.
So why wouldn't we just strike the word acoustic as well?
No farmer's market's gonna have a full drum set. It's just not gonna happen.
It's,
You say that.
Unless it says
it won't
right,
happen.
unless
It
it says
won't
it.
happen.
That's not how it works.
But if you think
So-
of the summer concerts, we do have all of that. So-
Is acoustic instrumentals defined in the noise ordinance? Do you have it in front of me? In front of you? I can pull it
I have
up.
the noise ordinance, but
All right.
We live in a very litigious community. We just got to make sure we cross our Ts and dot our
I've
Is.
learned such.
Yeah.
I could call it something else, really. All right, so,
I don't think acoustic instrument is defined, but we can refer always to Webster's dictionary for that.
so this is, well, why don't we just
That's-
end
that's
this
the
by, do I have a
rule
motion to approve this?
Motion.
It's already on the
It's
floor
already
and
on the floor.
seconded.
This is
I have a
discussion.
second, this is discussion. So why don't I move the vote and see if we all agree with this language? And if we don't, then we can change it. What do you think?
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, we could just take it up and amend it later. It's,
Okay, so all those in favor? Oh. Against? 5-1, Jeannie. My neck is getting stiffer. Right. Appointments and resignations, discussion and possible votes, Historic Preservation Advisory Board, 5 members, 3-year term, 4 vacancies, term ending 10/15/2026. 3, 10/15/2027, 1. Stu Hardy, 51 Summerfield Lane, request reappointment, 10/15/2026. Stu is not here, but I know the reason why, because there's supposed to be a planning board meeting tonight which ended up getting canceled. And he called me to tell me he was there, and he probably forgot all about this. So, it's not that he wouldn't come. You know what I'm saying? He probably was just blown. So, we'll have to interview him at the next meeting, and I will call him. Eldridge Cormier Jr., 348 Sousa Road, requests reappointment for term ending 10/15/2026. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I finally got to appear before this board.
He always brings me something.
I bring my war club because Mr. Carter, and I believe you've seen this before,
What is that?
that is according to the Massachusetts Archaeological Society, it is a at least 5,000-year-old Neolithic hand tool.
Wow,
But according to Medicine Bear Andy and the Picasset tribe, it's a war club. So,
well, thank you. You gonna take it back?
that is
What?
just part of the Historical Preservation Advisory Board's, I am the, I can sit down.
Here's
Yeah,
one of these once in a while.
well, yeah, Chris doesn't need that.
Where did you get that, Al?
In
Al,
my
you've brought other
backyard.
things.
your
The first year I moved to the Mile Road and bought the Ventura house from an angel, Mrs. Ventura.
So Al,
We planted marigolds, and my wife found that in the where we planted the
Wow.
marigolds.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
so Al, I've interviewed you before. You're very,
Yes, you did. Yes, you
you're
did.
very committed to this.
Yeah, oh, my goodness, I spent hours.
I know you do,
Thanks
and I
to,
appreciate that.
Sue and Stu, goodness,
Yep.
they're just great people.
Well, thank you for wanting to volunteer again and being part of this.
Well, our work is hardly done. We have a casino that's on the Indian Reservation. The first reservation is at the site of Sucker Brook, which we don't spell correctly because it was originally started by Benjamin Church to imprison his favorite Indians, the ones that fought against their Picasset brothers. And they became guardians, so the Picasset tribe has been guardians of the state since, I believe, the Wilcox trial of when Wilcox died in 1702. Ben Church acquired his land through the courts in Plymouth. And my wife is a Mayflower descendant from Edward Winslow and Stephen Hawkins.
I remember
So
you telling me that.
This history is something that I've been studying since my life.
Any
My
questions?
wife's grandmother asked us to go out to Wellfleet to look at Grandpa's land, and that he had the quitclaim deed from 1831, and we went out there. And of course, it's the park and ride for the bicycle trail, just like my home, you know, I'm at the park and ride, you know, in Tiverton, so, you know, and the water, she's Mr. Edwards. Your father, in 2003, when I bought the house, oh, goodness gracious, it was so wonderful because New England Development sent me a pamphlet that I was gonna get natural gas piped in, my sewer, I wasn't gonna have to worry about that, the sewer line was going right by my house, I was gonna be able to laterally hook up to
Kind
the
of leaving
sewer.
the whole thing.
And the water, I was gonna have town water, and the library was gonna be across the street with J.C. Penney's, and
Well, yeah,
New England Development had me all thrilled that I was
there'll
gonna
never
able-
be a J.C. Penney here. I can
You'll be the
guarantee.
smallest one in the country.
This was New England Development's proposal, and when
I
I
remember.
bought, and of course, my wife knew nothing about the mine, but I knew everything about the mine because I knew the Douglas
Yep.
projects, and we have Douglas on the right at the hill between my house and the hill, my house, it's Douglas property, and then the next two lots are Douglas property, and then behind my house is Douglas property, which is now the Pecasset Reserve. Well, my well in the Pecasset Reserve, sitting Fresh Brook, runs right next to my, what was my willow tree, but the National Grid took it down for safety reasons.
You know what, Al? I love talking to
So
you.
now, but you do have free light all night now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any cost to the town because I
All right,
have my
all
own
right.
well. But
All
I
right.
certainly don't want the proposals that Mount Hope Interceptor
Right.
goes direct
Well,
to my house.
as much as I enjoy talking to you, I think we're going to move on, because I have a lot of people to interview tonight.
But,
I know you
I
would.
appreciate your passion, Al.
And we really
I do.
appreciate, I've always appreciated your passion.
But I have one problem. The reason why I brought my war club is,
I was wondering why.
is because you had a meeting on October the 12th.
Okay.
And after the meeting, you discussed not having open meetings that would be detrimental to the public. What the heck is
What are you
that?
talking about?
We don't,
In executive session,
we didn't meet on October 12th, so you might,
no, October 10th.
October 10th.
We
No,
never discussed, we can't discuss things like that in executive.
Madam President, I think he's referring to the back end of anything, like the land proposals. When they come in, it says where,
Oh,
where the,
so-
where we're doing it would be
Right.
detrimental to the town's interest.
So if a developer
Yeah.
wants to come in and buy a piece of land, we are obligated to do it in executive, listen to their proposal, because it's not a formal, it's just an idea, and we do that on purpose legally, so that another developer can't say, oh, look, they're gonna do this, we're gonna say $10,000 less. So that's why we do that. We are allowed to do it. We are definitely allowed to do it. There's only certain things that we are allowed to go into executive on. And we follow the rules very carefully.
And that is before the planning board is informed?
Yes, yes. This is right at the beginning. And a lot of times, it never goes anywhere else. They'll come to us, they'll propose something. It just doesn't make sense to us.
It's only for town-owned property.
Yeah, it's only for town-owned property. Once we say, yes, we'll sell you that land, then they go to the planning
Yeah,
board.
we can't negotiate for private property.
No, not for private.
And it protects the negotiation position of the town so that we, as the council, are able to get the best deal possible for the voters in town.
But then, once we say yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't
That's okay.
understand that.
Okay, oh, that's
Because
fine.
when I went through the Pecasset Reserve, it was Rosemary
oh,
and
right.
Mark Rousseau, and I went to the meeting for Pecasset Reserve's first meeting with the planning board, and who was there but Mark Rousseau with the casino, saying, we're gonna put the casino over where they put the casino, and the planning board said, no, we can't, we haven't even had a vote yet. How can we say we're gonna put the casino there when we haven't even had a vote yet?
We allow them to buy the land and say yes, but then it has to go through the planning, the zoning, has to meet all the ordinances, all the laws. But we're the first people that say, yes, you can buy the land as long as you do A through D.
But that wasn't town-owned property either.
But that wasn't town-owned property either, so,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's concerning the industrial park. Now,
Yeah, but this is way off topic, and I'm gonna get in trouble
you
for
sound
it.
just like Stu every time I'm at.
Al, you
What's-
you should call her after the meeting.
Yeah, call me. Everybody does. All
But I
right,
certainly would love to
You
get
know,
approved
John.
tonight, and.
all right,
like
so I
said,
need a motion.
Make a motion to waive our rule because we have 4 vacancies on this board and appoint Mr.
Cormier.
Al
Cormier.
Cormier.
He attends every one of the meetings.
And
to
may
to the Historic Preservation Advisory Board for a term to end 10/15/26. Sorry, Al, I had to get that in.
Yeah,
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Madam President?
Yes.
Quick discussion on the policy because I reviewed it as it relates to the appointment for the Board of Canvassers. And technically speaking, we're in violation of our own policy by appointing this evening because we're supposed to interview and then appoint at the next meeting unless a
Right.
motion's made to waive the policy. So just want to point out that we didn't follow our own policy earlier.
Could you, Mike, could you waive the policy?
That,
All right.
that was in my same motion.
That, yeah, so, all those in favor?
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Al. Bye.
You're hired.
Don't forget your
Yeah,
weapon.
don't you want your rock?
Please, no, water is life. Remember
No,
that.
no,
When you're dealing with,
I
especially the
can't.
wastewater going into that intersection.
Republican
Because there's
Town
only so much
Committee, is that
volume.
on the agenda?
And there's only a 16-inch pipe going down.
We did everything.
Thank you.
We did everything, Nance, on the
It
Republic.
says something about Tiverton Republican Town Committee nominees. What's that all about?
Oh, well, that's, what happens is I reach out to the Democratic
Yeah, I know
chair,
that.
and they give me
But is there
nominees.
anything on that I have to
Nope,
address
nope,
tonight?
nope,
Okay, that's all.
nope.
Because we just interviewed you very recently, so.
Yeah, you're all set.
Okay, okay.
Juvenile Hearing Board, 7-member board, 3-year terms, 2 vacancy, terms ending 10/15/2026. Amanda Marie Souza, 160 Ledger Lane, request reappointment for term ending 10/15/2026. Before I do that, I just want to say something to John. When we went through the agenda meeting about the Board of Canvassers, it's very clear that we don't have to do that. It's a very clear policy on how that happens, and that's why we didn't waive that policy. Because it's the town council president who nominates and then goes from there. So we don't even have to interview.
So you made my point that after the vote to table.
Yes.
So when you motion to continue the Republican
Oh, I see
alternate
what
to the
you're
next
saying.
meeting, you're literally making the point that I made and that.
You're right, but I didn't want to bypass the first person they sent me just because they couldn't come. So that's why I did that. That's why I did that. A lot of times people put their names in there just so that they can give me 5.
Also, your water's spilling everywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Oh, goodness. All right. Amanda Souza, is she here? I don't think
Madam
so.
President, Ms. Souza reached out to me and said she wouldn't be able to make this meeting, but she can make the next meeting.
Perfect, okay. And the same thing goes with the next one. Library Board of Trustees, 7-member board, 3-year term, 3 vacancies, term 10/15/2026, 10/15/2025. 1, Kim Sutherland did reach out to me, she's ill tonight, and asked that we do it the next time. I think she reached out to you too, Jeannie, right? And there we go. And the next one is the Personnel Board, 5-member term, 4-year term, 1 vacancy, term ending 10/15/2027. Joy Gilkinson, 360 South Christopher Avenue, request reappointment for term ending 10/15/2027. Joy said she wasn't coming.
That's correct. She reached out and said she was too busy to make this meeting and wouldn't likely be able to make the next or others.
Okay, so what she's saying is she doesn't want to come for interviews.
Make a motion, we put this, well, I just say we.
I'll
put
do what
this
I did
forward.
last
Yep.
time. I called the people who said that they wouldn't come, and I talked to them and they came. So I'll give Joy a call before our next meeting.
Madam President, can I suggest we move item 9J, because I think that won't take long.
You want to do that before? Okay.
Motion to move item 9J to do
It's
next.
8J.
8J, right?
8J, no. I'm 7J, thank you, 7J. I'm looking at 8.
7J.
Yeah,
Oh.
That's, now you know why,
Yes.
now I know why you weren't understanding.
That's why I wasn't understanding
7J,
what you were
municipal
doing.
court judge to have before us right now.
All right, so Mike, come on up. Municipal Court Judge, term ending 10/30.
Everybody agree to that?
Oh. Do I have
Yeah,
a
we need a
second?
Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? You're bringing
Moving-
Mike up now.
Judge Ford up.
Al kind of confused me a
I don't know
little
if I
bit.
like having 2 Judge Fords that I have to.
All right,
Oh,
municipal
Judge
Same
court judge,
15 months
term
ago.
expired 10/31/2021, 2-year term ending 10/31/2025. Michael B. Fort Jr., request reappointment. I told you before that I've heard nothing but good things since we appointed you. I think that Chris made a really good decision when he recommended you, and I want to thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't let him down.
Haven't yet. We
Right? Am I
still have
right?
work to do. He's done a good job
But
of
he's done a good job.
changing
and he's
over
helped.
some of our policies, procedures, making sure we're doing the right thing. We are now just starting to get our building and zoning in front of him to make sure that we can do what's appropriate on behalf of the residents of this town, and he's been very fair to the constituents that come before him.
Any questions for Mike?
Madam President, not a question for the judge, but there was no backup related to this appointment in my packet.
There's
Okay.
no backup. I'm recommending that we continue with him.
Okay, so that's the backup. Thank you.
Sorry.
I mean, we get packets on everybody, so.
Were you here when we?
I can give you a 30-second life story if that.
You want to hear
that'll help.
anything?
Honestly, if the administrator says you're doing a great job,
He's done
I
a
place my
fabulous
trust in the
job.
administrator as the administrator of the town.
And I'm sure you'll get the same from the chief, too. There was a lot of.
Well, actually, I'm
cleanup.
surprised he's not here tonight. But
I
that's-
know. There was a
I'll
lot
hear
of
about it tomorrow.
cleanup. There was a lot of cleanup that had to be done, and I'm sure it's still being done.
No, he's not here. Yes, Mike?
Just quickly, Your Honor, what do you think your next set of priorities will be?
Right now, the priority was standardization, and I think we've reached that threshold. We've introduced credit card payments. We changed the meeting times to be from the middle of the afternoon to be 5 o'clock on Mondays for two reasons. One, when it's closer to the end of the workday, it's easier for people to get there if they need to and if they want to challenge something. It was also convenient for the solicitor's office because if they had to come to court, they could come straight to the meeting. We weren't incurring the charges or the energy or the expense of having 2 different days with 2 different trips to Tiverton from the city. So there were a number of reasons for changes that weren't really explained publicly, but there was a logic to them. Going from here, the difficult thing for me is that I can't do anything without a case that's pending in front of me. So I've heard that there are some things in the works in the background. I think really it's sitting down with certain members of the town staff and having a one-on-one education session about what the court's expectations are. And if there are any bottlenecks that are being caused because there's a lack of familiarity with the people or the process, that we get through those things so that we have the ability to deal with issues before they mature and fester and become more problematic. The caseload is relatively consistent for the moment. There have been changes in the dynamic of the number of people who pay versus don't show up versus come and challenge things. So we're in a healthy place as far as what we have, I'll say, in the pipeline for cases. But I think it's just a continued education process to make sure that the process works the way we would want it to optimally. I also think that there are some sections, both of the charter and of the town ordinance book, which were very well intentioned when they were put in place 20 years ago, but procedurally don't work anymore, either because of changes in state law that now conflict with them, or changes in the rules of procedure that the courts have generally. For instance, the town code basically adopts the district court rules, but state law says the traffic tribunals have to rule in the case of traffic offense. And those two things just conflict. So there's some cleanup work that needs to be done administratively, and suggestions that I think we can propose to the council, to the chief, and to the Charter Review Commission as appropriate, it's just about making life easier for people so they don't read something, see something that's inconsistent, raise a red flag, cause a problem when there isn't the education process that goes along with it.
Great, thank you.
I have a motion, yeah. My back's killing me. So I have a motion in a second, is that true?
No, so I
Okay.
move that we appoint Michael B. Fort Jr. Esquire, CFE, reappoint to a term of municipal court judge term to expire 10/31/2025.
Second.
Beat me to it.
Motion been made in second, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
You need to stand?
I need to stand, but that's all right. No, it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, Town Council open position for unexpired terms. I want to explain some of my rationale for this evening. When I was doing the agenda meeting, I originally thought we would interview this evening and then appoint the next meeting. Then we looked at the whole dynamics of that, and the charter actually says that when we appoint, they're not sworn in until the next meeting. I was concerned about that because you're talking almost the end of December before we get a new counselor. So I changed my mind and said that we could vote tonight. But the more that I'm thinking about this, you all have the right to say I'm wrong and say that you need 2 weeks to think about it. So it's up to you after we interview. My original plan was interview all 6, take like a 10-minute recess. You could all think about it yourselves and then go from there. But it's a very, very important position and I don't want to rush this. So if you all do not feel comfortable appointing tonight, I understand. And in a way, we have a huge zoning meetings coming up. If we don't appoint this evening, the new council will not be involved in that, and maybe it's almost fair that they're not, because there's a lot of background to this. So just think about it after we interview. We can take a 10-minute recess, and you can all decide if you want to appoint this evening or not. The way we're going to do the appointment, when you want to do your nominations, according to Robert's rules, this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to take all the nominations. So if John says number A, and then I'll go right down to see if there's any different nominations. From that point, Jeannie will take over, and she will ask who wants nomination A. No. Yes, that's the way we'll.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. So, and that's how we'll do it, okay? And the majority will rule. Oh, yeah, that's right. So, if we're at a stalemate, we're gonna drop the lowest person, okay? Do you get that?
Yep.
Okay. But that does not, I do not want to force this tonight. This is an important decision. I made the decision to do it this way, but after I thought about it, it's fair if you want to go home and think about this for 2 weeks. John?
Question, have we reached out to the Secretary of State for an opinion on whether or not the write-in votes count?
What I understand is one of the people here did. The people on our list did.
But we, the
But
council,
it's
have
according
not.
to charter. Todd, do you want to answer?
I don't think we need to. I think the language is extremely clear on that issue, John. Councilor Edwards.
So, I mean, I'm happy to, we can go through the interviews, or I can make my point now. It doesn't matter either way.
All right, because the way this happened in the charter was originally the town, and I go back that far, the town council appointed every single position. When the Charter Review Commission came to fruition, they decided that it would be the top vote getters, whether they were write-ins or not, for the other committees. But the town council, they felt was very important. And instead of us having complete control over it, it would be a eligible candidate who got their 50 signatures, who are on the ballot, would be the next chosen. After that, they didn't feel that write-ins for such an important position, they didn't put it in the charter. I was there for all those charter review meetings. I looked at what they were, and I know what they're thinking, because Mickey Mouse every once in a while wins the top vote getter. So it is a little ridiculous sometimes. And sometimes, and it's a very important position, and it requires a dedication to it. And so a write-in person who didn't even know their name was written in, so that's how that came about. But I've had them analyze it like 3 times now. It's very clear, I'm told.
The last sentence of section 202 clearly states and unambiguously, a qualified candidate as used in this section is a person who declared for the vacated position, obtained the requisite signatures to appear on the ballot, and appeared on the ballot in the election.
That's it.
Again, I'm familiar with the language. I understand, I just,
And our
again, because
charter was approved by the people who approve charters.
my point, I'll make it now, my point being is this, right? Is we're in this position because 7 people filled out paperwork, 7 people got signatures, 7 people were on the ballot. But there were 315-ish or so actual votes cast by people who took the time to go to the polls and write somebody in for legitimate candidates, like legitimate voters in the town. And I just want to pose the hypothetical to the rest of the board is that, let's say, Joe Smith was a write-in candidate and got 1 more vote than Dennis, who was the lowest vote getter out of the 7 of us.
Then that person,
That person would be on the council. So
right?
how should we view this in that light any differently? Because the people who I understand we're hanging on the charter language. I'm just saying, from a belief in the democratic process, if there are actual qualified electors of the town who were written in, who received multiple votes, to me, it seems like we're going against what the electorate wants.
No, this is different.
Your example is an actual election. What we're dealing with here is a vacancy for one reason or another on the council, which has a different set of parameters and a different way of handling it. And it's pretty clear and unambiguous in the charter how we do that.
Well, I have to tell you, if someone beat the law, I'm going to use Dennis because you did, but in order to beat
No
Dennis-
offense, Dennis. I mean, it's just that's the results.
No, but in order to beat Dennis, you would have had to get 2,000 write-in votes. So that never happens. So I don't know.
It's never happened.
All I know is we have to go by the charter. We have to go with what the lawyer advises. It's in the charter. We're going to interview tonight. We're going to do the best we can. I never in a million years thought I'd be in this position, and I'm very sad I am. And I think we just need to fill no one will ever fill Joe Perry's shoes, but I think we need to concentrate and do what we think is best, and that's all we can do. Mike?
Councilor Edwards, I understand the concern you raise about potentially disenfranchising those who may have voted for somebody who was a write-in candidate. At the same time, I don't remember how many people voted for the last charter, but when this was voted on, the residents, the voters who passed this charter had this particular verbiage in mind when they passed it. There was lots of public meetings on what should and shouldn't go in and why. And 2 things. One, if we simply decided that we were going to go with the highest write-in candidate, A, we'd be disenfranchising everybody who voted for this charter. And B, Judge Fort would have a pretty clear charter violation case in front of him, probably, because that language is unambiguous.
So right now, I'm going to ask the council if we can take a 5-minute break. I need to take some medicine. My neck, I need to get up and walk for a minute. Is that okay with everybody? Thank you. And 5 minutes, I swear to God.
And then we come back and interview?
And then we'll come back and interview. I just have to stand up for a minute.
From Webster Dictionary.
Who is that lady that has the big mouth back there? Okay, we're back. Thank you for letting me do what I needed to do. The first one is Mitchell Vareo.
Vareo, he's not here.
Vareo, he's not here. Jeannie, have you heard anything?
No, I have not.
All right. Is Blake Hayden here? Yes, you're here. Thank God.
Guys want me over here, over here?
You can sit down and relax.
Make sure you have the mic up here.
Yeah.
Testing.
So Blake, I just, tell us a little bit about you and why you want to be on the town council.
Sure, sure. So, just to start, I just want to say it's an honor to be able to try to even scratch the surface of filling in Joe Perry Sr.'s shoes, right? Been in the town since forever and ever, 1994, moved here in 3rd grade, and was in a lot of the town basketball leagues with him, and he's just the nicest man of all time. So, appreciate, it's an honor to be able to interview for the position. Thank you all for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to making a more positive impact on the town like you are all already doing. Again, 5th generation in the town. My great-grandparents bought the house in 1934, so been here a long, long time, almost coming on a century. And I worked at the Essex Library as a page when I was 12 and 13. I worked at the Moulin Rouge from age 12 to 16 as a dishwasher and prep cook for $3.75 an hour. I helped my dad at the Waterfront Festival. He was in charge of booking the bands for 2 of the years with Mr. Burns back in the day. I also have worked with the Senior Center, volunteered over there, wreath-making classes, several different things. I own a Christmas tree farm here in town. It needs some work, but I'm doing the best I can as a hobby farmer. I also went to Fort Barton School, elementary. I went to Tiverton Middle School with John, and Tiverton High School, I'm a Tiger. I played football and basketball at the high school, and 1 year at golf. I wish I stuck that out. Just for the free golf at Montauk, right? But in any event, I am senior regional sales manager for New England for DHL e-commerce. I'm in the supply, logistics, and supply chain transportation business. I've been doing that for 18 years now. And what I do is I help companies with cost management, lower costs, look at their budgets, and improve their EBITDA, profitability, automate, streamline processes, and most importantly, you like this one, mitigating risks, right? So those are kind of the things that I help companies to do. And I've also helped many municipalities. I hope you all received my reference letters that I dropped off earlier today. There are 22 of them. So I have reference letters from many different companies and municipalities that I've worked with. Bristol County Retirement, City of Taunton. I've worked with the town of Somerset, and then various other corporate companies and small businesses in Rhode Island. So, I have background in contract management, negotiation skills. I have an MBA from the Jack Welch Management Institute, Strayer University, and I have 3 other degrees, graduate certificate, bachelor's degree from Rhode Island College, and I focused on green energies for 2 years at Whittier College in Los Angeles. I just wanted to acknowledge that you did all receive those reference letters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we? Not all of them.
Did I get any of them?
I didn't get,
There should be 22 of them.
Well, maybe not. No,
I did not get
no.
any.
You didn't give us any of those.
Yeah, if they were just.
I dropped them off today at about 3:45.
All right, let me look at what I
Need
have.
copies. Looks like you only have one of them, maybe? Anyways, I brought an extra copy just in case. So, let me pass this
I'm
around.
looking, wait a minute.
Here are the 22 reference letters that I have
You can give them,
since 2011. And my favorite ones at the
oh,
end.
she has them, wait a minute.
Oh, she's getting them, okay.
Is that the one for your mom?
So, my major question, and everyone's going to get to ask you questions, but what do you see as the major priority right now of the town council?
Sure. Working with the fire department seems to be a big issue right now, so we'd love to help tackle that. I worked with the chief on a few other things. He's great guy, so we'd love to help work with that. And several of the other issues, like the school budget, I think I could be useful there as well. I used to be in a band with my dad. I can help with the recreation department. And again, I have cost management and budgeting, but really the main purpose is I love this town. I think we have a great town, and I want to give back to the community any way I can. And I think I can be a valuable asset to the council with my transferable skill sets.
Are you familiar with the zoning issues we're dealing with right now and the rewriting of several of the zoning ordinances?
I'm making myself familiar with them, and I have gone through the ordinances, and I have a whole entire plan here that I'm happy to submit if we get further down the process of how I can contribute to the town.
Okay.
I'm going to have lots of tools that I can submit, but I don't know, do you want to take a minute to look through some of those reference letters? I just want to make sure that you had time to
Yeah,
review
I
those.
think we will. I think, well, we are going to take a recess,
Okay,
whether we vote tonight or not.
great.
John, any questions?
No, thank you.
Deb?
I'm just wondering how much you followed the council over the last, 6 months or so?
Sure, so I have access to all the minutes, agendas. I've been reviewing them at night. It seems to be my most recent hobby, so I'm getting up to speed very quickly with everything. And it's a new language for me, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, it's just, we're in the midst of some very heavy ongoings. There's a lot of activity. So I just was wondering how well informed you were on
Yeah,
some of those.
absolutely. And also as a farmer in town, I've worked with the USDA, DEM, NRCS. I've done conservation plans for my own property and several other friends' farms in town. And again, I'm very involved in the community throughout my life, just between the businesses in the town, the library, senior center, many other activities going on.
Jay?
Well, some of the questions I had are already been asked, but I'll ask you this. So, as everybody knows, we're in a very unusual situation here. It's never happened before. Had you ever considered running for council, and if you were, why didn't you do it last time?
Yeah, I absolutely have and thought about it. It's just been on one of my things to do for a long time. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and I was taking care of those items, and now I have a little more flexibility with my job. I work from home, and so I have the time now that I can allot to the town, and I would love to do that if you guys give me the opportunity to do so.
Mike?
Blake, thanks for putting your name in and introducing yourself to us.
Absolutely.
So a big part of the role of a council member is also to be a liaison to various boards and commissions, whether it's the zoning, planning, harbor, economic development, library, also, there's 20 or more. I know you state that you're available evenings and weekdays. To what extent, and we don't always have to attend each of our separate liaison committees, but we are there to support them and to help them navigate and bring things forward, as well as to have enough of attendance to be able to have a good sense of what they're doing and also provide some guidance with if they may be stepping out in a way that they probably shouldn't in terms of what they're discussing on an agenda, for example, that might not be on the agenda. What's your ability to fill that part of the role?
What time and dates are those meetings
It
usually held?
depends.
My schedule's very flexible. I make my own meetings, so as long as I know a week or two in advance, everything's posted online on the town calendar. I just add it to my Outlook. It goes right into my phone.
So I'll give you
So
an
I'm very
example.
available.
I'll give you an example. Tonight, I was supposed to be at Recreation, but that got moved to tomorrow night, so I guess I know where I'm at tomorrow night. Usually, at least 1 week a month, I have, and this is just me, I'm out 4 nights for council business, and then other weeks, various nights. And pretty much everybody fills that, so.
Sure, I'm committed and dedicated to meeting those needs. And again, my schedule is extremely flexible. I make my own schedule. I am the manager of New England for my company, so I make my own calendaring, right? 9 a.m. on Mondays, I have a weekly meeting with my whole team. That is, that's the one obligation I have. Everything else is pretty flexible.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Dennis, any questions?
Nothing. Seeing some of the video online, what jumps out at you, over the course of seeing some of the past meetings?
what was the question? I'm so sorry.
Seeing some of the past meetings, what jumps out at you, as far as wanting to be on town council?
Sure. Again, I think my skill sets are really transferable and I can be an asset, but I love what you're doing with the farmer's market. I think it's great. What you all did with the beach, Grand Isles Beach, that was so long overdue, and I know we got a grant for all that, but it's just
That took a lot of work, though. That
such a
was-
gem that was underused, and it's so much nicer now, and it just brought up the value of our whole entire town significantly. So I want to get involved on projects like that and help this town, right, become a much better town than it already is. So.
Thank you.
Coming back to me? Love it.
He likes to be last.
Sometimes I like to be first, sometimes I like to be last. The only question I have is, you said you've seen some of the meetings. Are you sure you really want to do this?
That's a great question, and my answer to that is somebody's got to.
I appreciate
And I
that.
have built my life so that I could have the freedom and flexibility to be able to put myself here to help you all. And yes, my family and my children come first, but there's so many other families and children in this town that also need us, And so I appreciate everything all of you do, and I would like you all to feel confident making a decision tonight. But just kidding.
It's a
But-
huge commitment. I've done this for 12 years. No one knows how much time this takes. And it's also telephone calls, emails, it's
Constituent.
it's so much. And
Visits to properties.
visits to properties.
I'm in, and I walked here in 3 minutes, so I'm
Going
very
to the dog
committed.
park to make sure the dogs are all right and all that kind of stuff. But it's a huge, huge commitment. And I just want people to realize that, because some people come into this thinking it's a meeting every other Monday. Oh, no. Oh, no. And as president, I have a lot of meetings, but it's a huge commitment.
I'm ready for it, and I've actually reached out to some other resources in the town that head up some other committees, and they told me the same thing, and they asked me the same question John asked.
Why
And-
would you want to do this?
And because I do want to give back and I want to get involved, and it's about the future of my children, right, and my grandkids, and the 6th and 7th and 8th generation, and how we can make the town better and continue to improve it, right, and I look forward to working with you all, and I wish all the other candidates really good luck as well.
I think it's a question you can ask all of us, why would you want to do it, right? And I think we all have individual reasons, but it's to benefit Tiverton and to feel like you're part of the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This isn't specific to Mr. Hayden, but, a comment you just made reminded me of is we have now tonight 5 candidates before us. There's one position. We will have to choose one person eventually. It doesn't mean the other candidates don't have good qualities or a good reason to put their names forward, but we only have one choice. So I just want to collectively commend everybody who put their names in and ask that you recognize that it's not an easy choice, and whatever the outcome is, it'll be the outcome.
This is harder than voting.
Madam President, just to piggyback off of what Councilor Burke said, for those who we don't pick, nomination period opens, June of next year? So if you really still want to do it, please put your name in.
I'll be running next year if I don't get it.
Good. Because I got to tell you, last year was so boring for me for election. There was no competition. The body we all won anyway. So, yes, I like.
You had Mickey Mouse. You had Mickey Mouse.
And just one more comment on,
Yes.
dovetailing on Mr. Burke. For those who are not selected, there's so many other boards and commissions that we desperately need help with too, so I hope people keep that in mind too.
And it's a way to get everybody to know you and know what you're about too.
I'd love to get involved any way I can, so.
Thank you.
Really appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
you. Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the references.
Yeah, we'll look at them. The next one is Dave Perry. He is here, 78 Bramble Way, request appointment. Hi, Dave. Same thing, Dave. Tell us a little bit about you and why you want to do this, again.
Okay, again, right?
Again.
My name's Dave Perry. I lived in Tiverton for 47 years with my wife of 51 years, and we brought up 3 children in the school systems in Tiverton. 2 of my daughters own property in Tiverton right now, so we've all kind of stayed close to home. As far as what I've done for the town so far, I was on the personnel board for 10 years, way back when. I was on the budget committee for 12 years with Mr. Carter as chair. When he left, I took over, and then I left. Went on to council, was on a council for 2 years. Left the council, went on the planning board. From the planning board, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
3 years on, right, Rosemary?
3, okay.
3 years with the planning board, and then back now on the budget committee. And looking forward to being appointed to the town council. In Fall River, I run a food pantry. We serve over 900 people a month. I've been doing that for 35 years. I'm also on the homeless commission in Fall River, under the mayor's purview. And so I split both towns.
Thank you. What do you see as our number 1 priority right now? And that's, or a couple of our priorities, because
Yeah.
it's different.
Well, one of the things that we spoke about was the zoning. And for years, when I was on the planning board and on the council, I've been saying for years that we need rewrite in both zoning and, so that's one of the, and I think it's happening, I believe.
Yes, it is. It is.
So that's a good thing. I also think that we have to do something with our safety, as far as the police, fire. Look at them. I mean, we're growing as a town, and, we've got to keep up pace with, all these houses that are coming in. We're going to need more firemen, more policemen.
One thing that disturbed me, and I read on Facebook that you said if we appointed you, you would open the fireman's contract.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking, Dave, you were on the council for 2 years. There's always another story. There's always an executive session and lawyers' opinions.
Yep.
And a lot of times, it appears that we should do something, but nobody knows the background, and you know that.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yep.
So to blatantly just say you'd open it without hearing all the issues, without hearing what were being advised by several lawyers, bothered me just a little bit, because once you get all the information and you say you want to open it, that's a different story. But you do know that, and you've been in so many executives with me, you do know that there's always a background story. And I just felt that if you felt that way after hearing all the information, that's absolutely fine. I have no
Right.
problem with that. But to state that without really knowing what was going on made me pause a moment.
Well, there's some information that you get from certain people.
Which is, half the time, is not the whole story.
Absolutely, so you would have to wait and see if you got the whole story. But I think it's something that should be looked at. Once we get both sides together and take a look at it, and I think it's an avenue we should be trying to pursue, if we can.
Okay.
We might not
If
be
we
able to.
can.
We might not be able to.
Right, because the contract was just signed 14 months ago, and there's a lot of
Yep.
stuff that's going on right now. So
Right.
that just, I was kind of surprised, because I've worked with you before, and I know that it's very complicated. It's not black and white.
But we sat in on negotiations for.
Together, right.
Absolutely.
So that just made me say, ooh. But you do realize that sometimes what's said on Facebook is very rarely the whole truth.
Right.
or the one side of everything. And I just wanted to say that, and you know me, I'm very honest, and,
And so am I.
Yes, I know.
Don't ask me anything.
right,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
all right. So zoning, you do feel, and yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, there's a lot of rewrite.
And you know
writing
what's going on at the state level too. I mean, they're rewriting, they're gonna rewrite it for us. It looks
Right, and
like.
we have meetings, which, that was one of the things that concerned me about a new counselor, is there's major decisions to be made within the next month.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to get all the information out to the new people, because it's very, as you know,
I mean, there's so
it's the
many
most
things.
complicated thing
There's
in
so
the
many
world.
things they're working on. I mean, you people worked on short-term rentals. Well,
Still are.
what they
Still
working-
are.
All right, still are. And what are they working on at the State House?
Right, and
Short-term
that's what we're
rentals.
waiting for. But there's a whole bunch of new rules coming
Yeah,
down
yep.
that we have to address.
Yep.
And quite frankly, we can't even change some, like,
Right,
we can't
until
even
you
change it.
find out what they're doing.
So, and we have to accept some of the changes because they legislated them.
Right.
So,
Yep.
John?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I think Dave would be fantastic in the role. I mean, he was the vice chair of the budget committee when I was on the budget committee, before I ran for council again. You know, he's always been very diligent when it comes to the budgets, asked the tough questions, and I think he's got a long history with everything that's gone on. I mean, as you said, Madam President, he served with you. You know,
He served with you?
He served. No, he preceded me, and
Okay. I
I
can't
won in
remember.
16. Dave did not get back on in
You all coming
2016.
down.
But the only other thing I would say, and I hesitate to say it because I think it would negatively impact Mr. Perry's opportunity to get reappointed, but I'm going to anyways. It's a little concerning that I was just chastised for bringing up Facebook, and then here we are bringing it up again.
I'm sorry. I'll give you that. Deb?
You're such a busy man, Dave. You want to do this again?
I'm also retired.
You're retired, but I
got
think you
nothing
do.
but time.
You do more than I do, and I work full-time. I did not work with you on budget. I did not work with you on council, but
Your husband did.
my husband did, yeah.
We're on a school.
We were on the school building, yeah. I was going to say, we were on something. We were on the school building committee together.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you definitely have been around many of the boards and commissions, so I think you know how things work and
I do.
and interact, and that's really important.
Yeah.
You know, the timing of this is tough.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. There's so much going on at the state level. There's so much going on in the town. We're trying to meld with the state, and
Well, one of the
There's a
things I
lot.
do is I watch a lot of the state on TV, on Channel 13. So you kind of get a feel of what's going on at state level, because whatever's going on up there is going to filter down
Right.
until your local levels. So, and it has.
It is.
It has.
yeah.
Big time in the next
Yeah.
month.
Doesn't exactly filter.
Yeah.
It's coming down like a hurricane.
Yeah.
Jay?
All right, so Dave,
Deb, are you done? I'm sorry.
I'm done,
Okay.
yes.
I'm sorry. So do you now accept that the way we're doing this appointment process is what the charter says and requires?
Absolutely. I'm the one who called Secretary of State. I spoke to Greg Amora. He was very good, got right back to me next day. And he said, Dave, Section 202 is Section 202. You know, they have the authority to appoint. Do I agree with it? I have to right now. But, you know, it's not, and here's what happened and how we got to this write-in vote. A week before the election, not even a week, a couple of days before the election, I got a phone call, and it said, hey, Dave, and I know Dave Paul's having a write-in campaign. Do you mind if we start one for you? And I said, you know what, go ahead. You know, I didn't realize there were just 7 candidates that were ran. And everybody knew Joe was in pretty tough shape, and God, we hope he lived forever and ever. But so I said, yeah, go ahead. So 35 people went out there and voted for me. They took their vote away from something else and wrote my name in. Now, I know that, you're not going to agree with that because 202 is 202. But still, 35 people went out there. And it's not 2,000 or, if I wanted to run, I could have easily got 50 signatures and got put on a ballot. But I didn't want to run last time. Do I want to run next time? Absolutely. I'll be on the
So
ballot.
what's changing your mind in a year?
What's changed my mind? Stuff that I've seen going on in the town. And I think I could be an asset to help solve some of these issues.
Okay. Fair enough.
I've been around.
Oh, I know.
I've seen a lot.
No, and I know you're already familiar with the charter and with the comp plan and with the ordinances and all that, so I mean, you've got a lot more experience than anybody.
Well, there's another counselor coming up, former counselor.
All right, Mike?
Well, I know you're familiar with the liaison work, so I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you a slightly different question, and honestly, I don't know your answer to it. I think I do, but, well, two questions. One is, you know what we have decided as a council in terms of using, dedicating the gambling revenue
Right.
towards one-time capital projects.
Correct.
And we have that ordinance there that has us do that. We take the, other than the $200,000 for the table games, that goes into the general fund. And we have used that for a variety of needed things that have gone by the wayside for a long time, for us, for the schools. If you had been on the council at the start of the last council, not this one, would you have voted to do what we did?
I think, Mike, that we spoke about this even before.
I think so.
And we were right on target. In fact, I wanted it put into 4 categories, not 3. But 3's okay. I can live with the 3 that we have. But I think the one-time expenditures is something that's, people don't realize that it is saving them in tax money.
A lot
You're
of
not- you're
tax
not-
money.
But they don't understand that, some people. But I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to go out and buy one-time expenses and, not prolong these things. I would have voted for it, yes.
Thank you. So my other question is more of a, well, there are times when, and with you and I, and sometimes publicly and otherwise, and not just with you and I, when you get passionate about something,
Oh, I get
it
very
becomes
passionate.
sometimes, I'll use very overly assertive. How do you see yourself managing that at this point?
Well, let's say that I've learned some lessons. I'm still, if I'm passionate about something, I'm still going to fight for it. I'm all about Tiverton, no matter what I say or what I do. I've said some things years ago that are coming to fruition now in Tiverton that people didn't agree with me, but here we are, and they're happening. I've learned to be passionate, but you got to know your limits.
Thank you.
Dennis?
You mentioned since the last election, you've seen some stuff, correct?
The last election?
Since the last election, when you decided you didn't really want to run and now you do, you witnessed some things on the council. Can you give me an example, one or two examples?
Well, we talk about different things that are going on in the town. It might be, the planning board, and we need a rewrite in the planning board. We needed a rewrite in zoning, stuff like that. That's the council is finally coming to and saying, hey, we got to put the money forward and we got to do this. We can't keep pushing this down the road and sliding it. It's something we got to do, and they've done it, which I commend you for doing the things that you've done. But I was pushing for that way back when.
So you want to join us because you like what we're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
I'm only one vote.
Oh, we're all on one vote. Yeah, that's what I tell people all the time lately, I'm one vote.
One vote.
John, anything, you did ask?
I did ask, yes.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thanks, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and taking the time.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Paul, he's already standing up. 175 Warren Avenue, request appointment. Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the reason why you want to be on the council.
All right, so for those of you that don't know me, Dennis, I believe, the solicitor, David Paul, I've been a resident of Tiverton since 2008. Prior to that, born and raised in Barrington. I'm currently a retired firefighter, and I have a wonderful wife and 3 kids. One of them's a little bit older, so she went through the school system a while back. But because of her, I got involved with the town as far as Little League goes as a coach. Went up through my Little League ranks to safety officer and then to president. I've also served on the Tiverton Junior Basketball Board as well as a coach for Tiverton Junior Basketball. I've also served the community on various other levels. I'm Heart Safe Community Coordinator, co-chair, as I like to put it, of the pretty popular dog park in town. That was a great, talented team that put that together, and I give them a ton of credit. And I was also a very small part of the new playground down at Town Farm, which, again, I give Stu a ton of credit for taking the helm on that and putting a good team together. So,
You were also on the budget committee?
I did serve on the Budget Committee in 2018, correct. I ran for Charter Review back in correct me,
16?
16, I believe?
17.
17, was it? Is that what it was? Yeah,
It was an off-year election.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
so.
What do you see as the top priority?
It's
Or
been said.
Some of the priorities.
Yeah, no, it's been said, and I'll say it again. I would like to see public safety stabilized in some capacity. Having experience in that field and actually having been on a department that's experienced some of what Tiverton's experiencing now, I would love to see it stabilized. But that's not our only concern. It's been mentioned, zoning, and I'm well aware that our planner is working on zoning now. And I do agree, again, with Dave, that, I have heard there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that we're going to have to adjust to one way or another, so.
John?
You can circle back. I went first last time.
Okay, Deb?
And I went first the time before.
Yeah, and now you're first again.
No, I went first.
Technically speaking, Madam Chair's been first every time.
I'll be the line leader. So you are here a lot for town council, so you're on our agenda a lot for, dog park or different items, a lot of rec commission
Yeah,
items.
recreation's, again, to give Stu credit, recreation under Stu has come a real long way. And
have,
having a
absolutely.
fairly balanced community of older residents and younger families, it's fantastic. It's what Tiverton needs.
It really, I can't say enough. You and I served on the budget committee right around when the casino was just starting, and budget committee was the commission to decide how we were gonna handle the casino money at the time.
Correct.
And you really had a lot of ideas and a lot of thinking outside of the box, and I think that the ideas that we had discussed then are pretty much what we're doing now, and not making it part of our everyday expenses, but doing it for capital and one-time
Correct.
expenses.
And to touch on that, and Councilor Edwards will back us on this one, when a separate committee member, myself at the time, looked into that small share of gaming revenue that would be available, and prior to any type of ordinance being in place, one of the things that we looked at was, how can we put that in there for a tax decrease now, but be able to pull it out in the next budget so we're not relying on it? And I think we did a pretty good job at that, and it was I want to say a 50-cent drop roughly in the tax rate because of that, so. But I fully agree with the way it's being done now. And I agree with with Mr. Perry, that a lot of residents don't realize to the extent that it is saving tax dollars by doing it the way we're doing it.
They absolutely do not understand that, but we had put so much, we'd kicked everything down the road and hadn't purchased new vehicles and new equipment for all of the different departments, and we're starting to get.
Repairs.
And school repairs, right, and so we've gotten new fire apparatus and police, and we've got a lot of grants and a lot of DPW equipment, so we really have, between grants and casino money, have been able to purchase that over the years. And I think, like, we started that
Yeah.
some years ago.
Yeah, it's probably still a little ways to go with the equipment. If you ask me, I think if we talk to any of the boots on the ground, they'll say, give me the equipment and let me do the job. So if there's equipment that we can be getting, then let's do it, you know, but.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay?
So we know each other pretty well by now. And we ran together once.
We did.
Yes, we did. So you ran in 2018, 2020, didn't get elected.
Correct.
Why didn't you run last time?
That was a interesting time frame, actually. I was actually on vacation down in Florida.
Oh, all right.
And kind of sort of said, I'll make a decision when I get back. To put it bluntly, when I got back from Florida, which was just prior to the deadline, there had already been kind of sort of a slate put together. And the reality is, a bunch of great people, why fight it? You know, so.
But I get it. Okay, so here's another thing. So this hasn't been brought up, but I'll bring it up now because it turns out it's a very important part of us. How does your family feel about this?
The council president specifically asked my wife one day, supposing he does do it, what would you think? And she said she fully supports me. She actually did send me a text while we were here.
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Do this?
I'm pretty sure that's along those lines, yeah. But she fully supports it. My kids are 13 and 11 now. They get it. I'm out various nights of the week with other stuff as it is. They know, and as a matter of fact, my daughter wanted to come tonight. They know when town hall and when town council meets, and so. And, you know, again, being retired, I do have that time and that flexibility during the day as well to be around and to answer questions and whatnot, so.
That's good, because I got to tell you, without the support of your family on this, it's almost impossible. It really is.
If I were to get the privilege of being appointed, she'll let me know by next June if I should run or not.
She'll tell you if you can, right?
I just add, he's got his daughter painting benches at the dog park.
She did. She loved it. She'll be heading this way eventually.
Dave, I think most of the questions have been asked that I want to ask, other than one, and, you know, I have had the privilege, I guess, of getting to know you a little bit differently, too, with your mother-in-law being a neighbor for so
yes.
long, and seeing your kids grow up from that perspective. And I hope she's doing well in her new house.
She is.
Still in Tiverton,
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you similar to what I asked Dave Perry, is at times when you get passionate about something, you get overly assertive. I think I've seen it change a little bit for the positive, but just asking a sense of how do you see yourself handling that going forward?
I don't want to throw a jab at Mr. Perry because I'm only 45, but as I've gotten a little older, you tend to learn
Talk
to.
about your age, Dave.
I'll get you a coffee in the morning. You tend to realize what's important and what's not, and you know, to echo his words as well. I mean, if I'm passionate about something, I may not necessarily back down, but if there are other viewpoints, I'm willing to sit and listen. So,
thank you.
Dennis?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Dave.
meet you.
Just a quick question. You mentioned public safety. Any ideas or examples you'd like to bring to that portion of town council?
It's not a secret that the starting pay is low.
Right.
Again, coming from a community, believe it or not, that actually went through similar issues.
Barrington, right? Barrington,
Correct.
yeah.
Believe it or not, yes, Barrington. They'll all be watching this tomorrow now. But, yeah, we face some of those same issues with revolving door, with low starting pay. Through collaborative effort, they did increase the lower steps, and they did stabilize a little bit. The reality is, it'd be phenomenal to have a small-town fire department completely stable.
Right.
There is going to be a small fraction of a revolving door as it is. How we keep them and retain them, there's got to be buy-in from everybody, from the firefighters themselves, to the town, to the chiefs, to the community. It's a collaborative buy-in. So I know the town supports the fire department. I don't know if they feel it, but.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone? John?
Hey, me.
I almost forgot you.
No, you can never forget me. Not so much a question for Mr. Paul. Obviously, I've known Mr. Paul for a while, like some of the other candidates. But given the fact that Mr. Paul and now also Mr. Perry, they both serve on existing boards, I'm assuming the position on the dog park committee you would resign from that. Same would go for Dave on the budget committee, right?
Correct.
Lawyer? Okay.
Yeah, they'd have to.
That was it.
They wouldn't have time for it anyway.
They can come back as liaisons.
Yeah. All right. Everybody else set?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Stephen Clark, 31 Peaceful Way, requests appointment. Hey, Steve,
Good evening, everybody.
tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be back on it. You did serve a year with us.
Yes, I did. So I'll do my best, and I'll start with my professional background, because I think there are some relevant connections there. First of all, professional background, I'm retired. And I highly recommend it, right, Dave? Where'd Dave go? But, being retired, and we've heard this from, I think, the Daves as well, is that it affords me the time to commit to this job, the amount of time that's needed to do it. I've been on town council before, as you know, and looking back on my experience then, I was tied up with some other things, and I personally would admit that I did not put enough time into it. I know exactly what I'm getting into this time around. So retirement is a good thing. 6 years ago, I was working. My job title was Senior Product Development Engineer for a medical products company, and I believe that's relative because when we were developing products, we worked in a team environment. Major components of the company were represented, like marketing, finance, quality control, manufacturing, engineering. And in an environment like that, in order to be successful, you have to be a good communicator, a good listener, and a good negotiator. And I think those are qualities that will transfer well and serve me well in the town council environment. As for political qualifications, as you now know, or most of you already know, I was on the town council back in 2017, and so I know exactly what the process is. I know what the commitment needs to be. In that same time frame, I also served on the Charter Review Committee, and I understand that we'll be going through that process again probably next year. So perhaps that's something I can help out with.
If we get volunteers, but nobody seems to want to do it, so.
Well, maybe I can beat the bushes a little.
All right.
You beat something.
And in addition to that, on political background, I mentioned that I was actively involved with the TRTC back then. I'll mention that at my own peril in this democratic town, but it was another way that I got, experience in the issues that were important to the town, and made connections with other people that were involved in politics. The other thing is I've been a resident for 20 years, so I'm not a native, but I'm not a carpetbagger. That's a term, huh?
Yeah.
So in 20 years, I've seen a lot of what the more contemporary issues are in this town, and I have a good feel for the character of the town and the direction that I think this town wants to go. Why am I applying for this position? Well, I stepped away from town council. I did one term and stepped away and thought about my experience. I was kind of busy back then. As I already said, I didn't think I really made the commitment that was needed. I was transitioning from my professional career to retirement. I was renovating a house that I bought, and I'm a do-it-yourselfer, so I was up to my neck in that. And I took a little time off from politics. And I realized during that time that I missed it. I missed the challenge, the stimulation, the social side of it. I missed it, and I wanted to get involved again. I didn't want to be sitting on the sidelines wondering, why certain decisions were made and why things are happening the way they're happening. So I wanted to get involved again, be part of the process. So a few months ago, I started sitting in on some of the town council meetings and some of the zoning meetings and some of the planning meetings. I kind of had my eye on planning primarily and maybe zoning, one or the other. And then this thing popped up, and I said, oh boy, I can jump back in to the deep end of the pool with both feet. So that's why I applied. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Do you have any questions?
What do you look as one of the priorities of the town council right now?
This town is growing at a very rapid rate, with big developments going in. The gas station is the latest hot button. And I think we have to be more proactive or more preemptive in a planning process. Otherwise, this thing's we're gonna lose control of what's going on. Some people might say we already have, but I think we really need to be more proactive or preemptive. Start looking at legislation or other ways to control the growth.
Thank you. John, you want to be first or last?
Yeah, I'll go first this time. Thank you.
You'll be the line leader.
I'll be the line leader. So, Mr. Clark, happy to see that your name's here again. Obviously, I'm one of the two counselors on the council here who served with you on your last term. And, I think based on the discussion, it sounds like, or your descriptions here, it sounds like, you're far more up to speed than you were back when we both got sworn in all those years ago.
I felt like a babe in the woods back
Yes.
then. It was a great learning experience.
And I would also comment too that it is painfully obvious when you talk about planning and some of the projects and stuff coming to this town that you're neighbors with former Chairwoman Hilton. So if anybody's going to bring you up to speed, it would certainly be her. So just thank you for putting your name in the ring.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And if for some reason you don't get appointed, I hope you run again.
I do intend, if this doesn't pan out, I will, as I said, I'm interested in getting onto some committee somewhere, so I'm in, one way or the other.
We could do that one way or another. Deb?
So I know I've seen you here for some of the council meetings and also at planning and zoning. And as Councilor Edwards and I are the liaisons there, we spend a lot of time. And they're busy committees. As you know, there's just so much growth that potentially is going to happen in town. People just want to buy up every little square inch of space in town and put something there. And you recognize that we can't just say no because we don't like that kind of business or that kind of building. There's zoning laws and there's regulations we have to follow, and it's really hard to educate the public to that because they just think that we're just like giving the town away, and they're blaming the council. So you have to have thick skin too. But I know that you've been getting more attuned into how those interact, the zoning and the planning and what's going on, because it's very, very busy.
And that's my intention, to get more involved, because I think those are areas where there's really gonna be a lot of activity, a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I don't see that changing for a while. So,
Okay, thank you.
Jay?
So, as I did with all the time. I reviewed when you were on the town council, so I find that you got sworn in October 2019, and you left in December 2020 because you didn't run.
It was right after,
It was part of the recall.
you got in after the
Okay.
recall.
So a year and a month or whatever.
Yeah.
You and John over here were part of that. And I went back and watched you on video, and I watched you at live meetings. So I have a pretty good feel of how you feel on a lot of the issues. And you are laid back. You know, you didn't do what some people do and pound your chest and make a big stench.
What's wrong with
But
that?
I got the impression that you did your homework and you knew what you were doing. Even though you think you were in a babe in the woods, you were catching on, and then you left. So, and now you're back. So other people are you really sure you want to do this? And do you think you would run at the next election?
Well, as far as getting involved again, you touched on that. As I said, over the last year or so, I've been starting to attend meetings of the various committees. So yes, because I've been thinking about this for a while. I am committed to getting involved. And as I said, in hindsight, I enjoyed town council. It was interesting, it was stimulating. It was a challenge. And I know that I want to do it again. Would I run again? I can't say for sure. I'd be just kind of making it up if I said, oh yeah, I'm going to run again. I'd kind of like to see how it goes over the next 12 months, to be honest with you.
And it's a learning curve, The first year you learn it, and then you become useful.
Yeah, as a side note, I actually had somebody back then get in my ear and say, town council terms should be 4 years because it takes time to get up to speed.
And you know how to make a charter change.
Yep. Mike?
Steve, thank you for coming forward. And I'm not as concerned as my colleague is about whether or not somebody's going to run again.
Oh, I'm not sorry.
Well, because we're at the here and now, and whoever gets elected, whatever they can, or selected, whatever they can provide to us, as long as it's a positive step forward, not necessarily agreeing all the time, but putting their time, energy, effort into the role. That's what's important to me. And you had mentioned, you brought it up, I didn't, that you see this as a Democratic town. It's actually a lot of unaffiliateds in town versus, Democrat. There's certainly more Democrats than Republicans, but I don't hold that against you. I think Chris knows I don't hold it against. And I go back to my college days when I was running a political advocacy group, and one of our Congress members in Pennsylvania had just switched from Democrat to Republican. And we were at an event, and his staffers were very concerned because the group I was working for was very influential at the time, and very concerned that we were just going to vote against him, try to vote him out because of his change in affiliation. And we said, well, I said, no. I said, it's really how he comes down on the issues that are important to us and also listens to us. We did vote him out, but it wasn't because of his affiliation. But I'll go back to a similar question in terms of how we've used the casino funds. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, back then, I was for moving it all into the general fund. To me, it was a kind of a more simple solution with more visibility, more. To me, money coming in all goes into the pot, and then you decide what to do with it. I think when you start breaking it out before it even gets to that pot and sending it to different things, you kind of lose, clarity or visibility somewhat. That was my opinion then. I think what we settled on is fine. It works. It seems to be working.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you answered mine. Your original opening statement.
Okay.
Pretty much answered the question. Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Getting off easy.
This is the worst interview, this is the most difficult interview process I've ever seen, where where you're interviewed in front of your competition, and you got 6 people questioning you rapid fire.
But you got to learn from the others.
That's right.
And we have to do it out in the public. We cannot do it separately, so.
After this.
All right,
Okay.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Adwin K. Schober. I always say your name wrong. That's
okay.
124 Long Pasture Way, request appointment. Hi, Ed.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Let me start by saying I'm probably the least qualified person here for the job. No one works harder than me. There's a lot of very qualified people that come up before me this evening, and I just texted my better half and said, I got no shot at this.
Tell us why you want to be on the council.
So like everybody, like a few other people said, I have the time, I have the energy, I have the interest, I have the love of the town, although I have not lived here for 40 years. I've only lived here for 7 years. I'm on the zoning board, have been on the zoning board for the last year and a half, and I wanted something more meaty. I wanted something where I could actually, where it's not just, you're not just talking variances every night. I wanted something, I'm a political junkie, to be honest. Anyway, my background is I'm a former U.S. Marine. I have a master's in counseling. My bachelor's is at Providence College. My master's is at RIC. I've been with the same company, East Commerce Solutions, for the last 28 and a half years. Regional manager for in the Northeast, vice president. What can I tell you? We love Tiverton. I have a passion for this town and where I live. I hope this is my last house. I can't imagine ever moving. I've got the best spot.
Yeah.
It's an amazing look. I'm right on the water. It's really at the end of a cul-de-sac. The only cars that come down are the UPS trucks and the mailman. That's it. I have, other than being on the zoning board, I have no other political advantage other than the fact that no one will work harder than me, and if I don't get picked tonight, I have every intention of running and being one of the top 7 vote getters next year. That simple.
Good. What do you see as our top priority right now? Well,
if you ask the townspeople, they're gonna probably always say taxes. They're always gonna be worried about what.
I was waiting for someone to say that.
Yeah. It's always, I don't have any letters of recommendation to give you. I just have me, and our taxes, we pay a lot. We don't have a mortgage, but we pay a lot, and I'd like to keep it right where it is and not have it go up every quarter or every year. What else can I tell you? I was a big brother with a mentor of a kid for 5 years. I'm an ambassador for the Central Chamber of Rhode Island. But I could do this really well. And as
I've been asking for a recliner in the audience because we're the only ones ever here, and it gets uncomfortable after 5 hours or so.
Yeah.
But there's some meaty discussions going on right now.
Well, this is where the meat really is compared to the zoning board. I mean, we sit there and it's amazing how, seriously, it can be tough to sit there and listen to somebody who's asking for a little bit over the variance. And then you'll get 6 people in the audience who are complaining about something, and it's part of what the town goes through. I get it. But this, to me, is interesting. This would be fun and interesting. So my energy would be here.
It is fun and
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it really
Yes.
was. If you don't feel that way, you shouldn't be sitting up.
No, it really is.
It's
fun and
interesting.
interesting.
It's interesting.
Sometimes it's not fun, Ed.
Yeah.
I miss those.
It's not always fun.
Well, I can
but
imagine.
It's always
I
interesting.
can imagine on Tiverton happenings what will happen when, next year when I'm on the board, and people start emailing me because they know I know. I see it. I see what you guys go through. So, yeah, I know.
It can be fun, though. And you do get to meet a lot of people,
Yep.
a lot of very interesting people.
Yeah, and I have a number of clients in the town that process through me. I don't know if you guys know who East Commerce Solutions are. We're the only local credit card processor in New England, really. I've got a number of accounts like Helger Oil and Classic Pizza and Tiverton Auto Body and a number of other accounts that process through me. And Bridgeport Seafood, and they will swear by me. But I don't have letters of recommendation. I'm just here on my own.
If you watch the morning news, how could you not know what East Commerce Solutions?
Right, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I am a lifelong resident here, but I have been to places since I've been on the council that I didn't even know existed. Parts of town, like way out areas.
Me and Deb have.
That my GPS didn't even understand, so.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, but thank you.
Jay?
Well, I agree with Deb, so we're usually sitting together in your meetings.
Gotcha.
I miss them occasionally.
Yeah.
So have you, I don't think you've attended very many council meetings, but do you have you watched them?
Yes.
So you're fully aware that
Yeah.
it's not always fun, and
No.
sometimes it's downright awful.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you guys go through, and hopefully it's I'm sure you're all saying to yourselves, I hope it's a good night tonight, as opposed to what you deal with sometimes. I agree. We go through the same thing on the zoning board.
Yeah, you
Same
do.
thing.
You
We
do.
Yeah, you do. You're one of the groups that do.
Yeah, we really do.
You get it from both sides,
They
and you
blame
can't do it
us.
right.
That we get yelled at and screamed at, but if a variance, if it fits, like a commercial variance fits, we can't turn it down. We can't. So, and they say, well, everybody yells at us because they think it's not a good idea. Okay, it might not be a good idea, but it still fits the ordinance, and there's nothing we can do. We have to wash our hands of that.
So are you familiar with the new budget process?
The answer is no.
So that's going to be a very important thing you need to,
Yep.
if you get appointed, you need to be up to speed like now.
And I would think that anybody that comes up for the first time would also need to be up on that too, and they wouldn't know anything about it. Well, they wouldn't know, they might know something about it, but it would be on-the-job training, I'm thinking.
And there's a lot of us that can talk you through it.
Yep.
And I'll let Mike ask you about the casino revenue, because he's been asking everybody else.
Well, Deb took it the one time.
She did.
I could take it now, so I'll ask you.
Well, the whole town was hoping, I'm sure, with that here, that would hold taxes. I'm sure that was what we were all, praying for.
Well, it has, though.
Well, it has, so you are familiar with the way we use casino revenue now? Capital only. And do you think that's the way to go, or?
To be honest, I would have to look at it more carefully. I don't have the insight you guys do.
That's fair.
One thing you'll get from me is straight
That's fair.
stuff.
Next.
So, what do you see as something you want to dig your hands into if you were selected?
Besides holding taxes down, well, there are a couple things. I have an interest in, so we live at the bottom of the hill from where the fields are, and also where they have the farmers market on Sundays. And they were supposed to have pickleball courts this year. What happened?
They're working on it.
They are, okay. Well,
Us too.
Us too, no.
We were all set to play. I told my better half we were going to be the male-female champs of the town. We never got a chance to play because there were no courts. So,
Look at Stu, because he's gonna run tournaments.
Stu's lobbying against you.
Keep those to
Stu's over there.
no, that
There will be pickleball courts. It's just taking some
It's just
time.
not till next.
that'd be nice. No, it really would. No, but seriously, that's good entertainment, and the ball fields are terrific, and I like the Friday night music that they have over by the library.
Yep.
And my better half thinks that's the best library she's ever been to. She loves that library.
Terrific.
She walks the track every morning. Stuff's going to come up that I'm going to have an interest in and a say in, and like you said, it's only one vote.
Thank you.
Everyone's important.
Either way, as I mentioned, I'll be up here next year, if not now.
Good. Dennis?
I think you guys answered the tax question, but what ideas would you bring as far as lowering taxes for the town?
So you'd have to, the only way to, other than raising taxes, you have to cut revenue, and no one wants to do that? That's a really good question. And I think that you guys probably debate that all the time. Let's face it, that's what everybody wants to do, is find a way to lower taxes.
Yep.
And how to do that. And I think if you could find easy ways to do it, you guys would be doing it already.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, when I'm thinking, no, it's all right, Ed.
That's fine, I didn't have anything else either.
Oh my God. Ed, you want,
No, it's all good, go.
is that what you would like? Yeah, but
We
you.
ignored John.
Sorry?
You want to ask Ed now?
No, I'm not that later.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ed.
But now that I'm thinking, I think my original idea about this is true. We have a lot to digest.
Plus, we got the handout.
And we have all these handouts and, yeah, all these references to look at. I'll be doing this with, I'll be doing this with morning coffee tomorrow. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think we should wait to appoint till the next meeting.
I think so too. I thought so from the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mike?
I will go with whichever direction
Okay.
the council wants to go.
John, I'm going to do you now.
It seems like the wind is already blown to appoint next meeting, so.
Okay. I don't think I need a vote.
Yeah, need to
I need to
continue.
continue
Motion
it.
to continue the town council appointment process to the next regular meeting.
Second.
Person that didn't appear, right?
Yeah, and there's one person that didn't appear. Oh,
That alone was-
discussion. One person didn't appear, what do we do? I mean, I think it's a really important position not to appear. That's my opinion. And not to call to give a reason.
Or we could say, look.
Was there advance notice that this person was not going to be present?
No.
But I did send out
Okay.
an email reminder to all the candidates.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think.
They were notified to come to
Oh,
this
yes.
meeting?
I would just say if he happens to show up next week, we can decide our next meeting.
I would agree.
Okay.
Madam President?
All right, so, and
Oh.
one further discussion.
So I know you said that you would appoint the next meeting. Would it be beneficial, and I'm only putting a suggestion out there,
I know what you're going to say next Thursday.
would you do at your next meeting, half hour before, to have a special meeting?
We discussed that, we can't.
You can't then appoint at the meeting.
Have a special meeting to
We
select.
discussed that, and why did Mike tell us no?
I don't know. Nobody gave me an answer on that.
No,
You were
I don't think
there.
it worked out timing wise.
right, I think
Oh,
I thought you
okay.
could appoint or select.
Oh, I know one of
it
the
was at the
reasons.
special meeting that we talked about.
I know, right. So you're going to appoint the person
At a
and,
special.
and then have them sit down with us.
No, then have them
No,
get
they
sworn
wouldn't be able
in.
to be sworn in until the next meeting.
So the
So
next
regular
meeting is the
meeting.
27th, I
No, you're not
think.
understanding. So we have the meeting at 6:30. You see what I'm saying? We have the meeting at 6:30, we vote, we appoint someone. At 7 o'clock, they're gonna get sworn in and sit at the table. They don't have any
Any
Yeah,
background, any
that's
background.
why. That was my problem.
All right.
We could appoint them next Thursday, because we can't.
It's a special meeting just for one item, isn't it? That's, what you're doing like zone-
Next Thursday is Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
so no.
No,
I
no.
think you're
Appoint
referring to the
next
20th.
No, there's two meetings though.
You know what I'm
gonna be here.
All right,
That's the next,
following Thursday.
November 30th.
a week from yesterday is the special meeting for zoning.
For zoning.
A week from Thanksgiving.
Then there's another one for the fourth.
And then the following Monday,
Yeah.
we have a regular meeting.
No, we'll just,
I was just making a suggestion, it's up to you guys
you
what you
know,
want to
and
do.
it's,
I think it's fine to.
I think it's fine to do it the way
Ms.
we're doing
Rose?
it, because, and I don't think it's fair to just throw somebody into all the terrible zoning things that we're gonna have to make decisions on, to just have somebody have to deal with that.
So we vote?
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of continuing? And I know Dennis, he abstains, but I know he said
Are we
yes.
taking a couple minutes so I can go to the restroom?
Yep, we're gonna take a couple of minutes. I wanna tell you all, I think you're all highly qualified.
Without adding it to
I
the
appreciate you coming and doing this. And this is gonna be a really tough decision
It's
for us.
actually on the agenda.
And I hope you understand that.
Is it? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take a couple of minutes. Is Tim coming?
I was just gonna update you. You mean under A?
That's over, rocket docket.
All right. We're gonna be here till midnight.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. Rocket docket.
Oh, okay.
Rocket docket.
All right, Council Vice President Burke, discussion possible vote to approve letter provided by Town Administrator to be sent to appropriate state regulatory agencies, including State Building Official, CRMC, Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Coast Guard, and State House delegation regarding significant health and safety concerns of the former Quality Yacht property located on Riverside Drive.
So, thank you, Madam President. Right before I get to this, I just want to make an announcement or a note that there was a CRMC meeting tonight on the oyster farm application by the Bowens, and Diane Santa had texted me earlier in the meeting saying that the application got deferred to the hearing officer, which is what we had requested happen too. So that did happen, and I'm going to actually turn to the town administrator because he has given us a draft of a letter.
So I did speak with our building official related to this. We have had conversations with CRMC. I did have the governor in the office last week with Council Member Edwards, John. We did discuss this a little bit, and also the next item. But this would be probably the most appropriate letter to send to all those agencies so they all have some weigh-in on this, because quite frankly, the town does not have jurisdiction over that dock.
It's dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous.
Any conversation, any comments?
I'll change the date and send it out tomorrow morning if we're able.
I'd like to make a motion to approve that the town administrator send the letter that is provided in our packet and send it to all of the folks that are copied on the second page of that letter.
Second. Discussion?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll just reiterate what I said at the last meeting. It was pretty apparent when the building official was here that he had contacted state zoning or the state building office. They are the ones that had jurisdiction. It sounded to me like they were already on top of it. So, if we want to send a letter, that's great. I just think that the wheels are already in motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Council Vice President Burke regarding Chase Marine property, an update from the town administrator.
I again will defer to Mr. Cotta.
So again, last week, we had a meeting with the governor over a number of different issues. Mostly it was the Learn365 item, but we did discuss this particular property with the governor and his staff member. Subsequent to that meeting, the staff member has reached out to me to let me know that DEM's director is trying to coordinate a joint meeting with all the parties involved so that we can get this thing back where it needs to be. The governor is very supportive of this being done as DEM would like. I think right now it's just basically a funding mechanism, but again, all these parties need to communicate with the town where we are with this particular structure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
Just to echo that, the governor was, the administrator was, did a very good job of representing to the governors the issues surrounding the property. And so it seems like this is raised to the level where it needs to be. And the nice thing that came out of that meeting was the governor, asking the administrator, like, hey, when you have things come up, like, contact me directly. And I think that that'll alleviate a lot of the issues and a lot of the discussion that we have here, because Chris can just go straight to the governor.
Okay.
Can I ask one question on this?
Sure.
So is there a mood that they're going to give us a seat at the table when they talk about this?
So the town doesn't have a seat at the table, and we won't have a seat at the table, but we have been pushing this agenda for quite some time. I was at the table when it was under Bob Ballou and DEM. He embraced the community being part of this, but right now, it's the three entities can't seem to get their act together. So I think the director of DEM is going to be very active in trying to at least coordinate this so that the town does have some say.
Madam President?
Yes.
One follow-up item to Councilor Edwards' question. If we would like to have a seat at the table or at least have some influence over the process, that is a perfect time for us to reach out to our state delegation. Which, by the way, our state delegation is acutely aware of this.
Okay.
Yes, no, they are. All of them.
All right. Next item, Recreation Commission Chair Stu Gilfillan. Discussion and possible vote to advertise for part-time events coordinator.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting me address you. What you have before you is a copy of a draft job description that is budgeted within the Recreation Commission budget. This position, essentially, as Recreation is trying to continue to grow, there have been certain times we've come before you to do events, and there's certain times we come before you to strategically approach things like changing ordinances and putting infrastructure in place. And so with a really dedicated team of volunteers, we're trying to do both simultaneously, but having some help on the event side is what this particular position is addressed at, to allow the commission to focus more on the long-term strategic plan. So one note I would make is that last year the parade was under the banner of Tiverton Celebrates, and one of my fellow commissioners had this really, really good idea of putting all the events under Tiverton Celebrates with sort of different nuances to it. Some of you might have seen it from the trunk or treat. So in here it specifically references Tiverton Celebrates. That's the banner under which we're going to be putting events. So just looking for permission to be able to post this job description.
Any questions? Deb?
Are we budgeted for this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we approved it at the, during the budget process. It's a part-time job.
It is. Yep.
So it doesn't have to go to personnel? Okay. All right.
Madam President?
Yes.
Make a motion that we approve the advertisement for the part-time events coordinator as presented by the Recreation Commission Chair.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Quick question. Since you mentioned under Tiverton Celebrates, I believe we budgeted these dollars under Recreation. Does that allow him to? Okay.
It's the parade was titled as Tiverton Celebrates, but it's still under.
Just want to make sure we don't have like a separate entity.
It's
because
branding.
I know we've taken dollars from, you know.
It is Tiverton
Okay.
Recreation. It's just branding. So.
Thank you.
Motion's on the floor and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stu.
Thanks, Stu.
Town
Spending the evening with us.
Town Administrator, discussion and possible vote to authorize advertisement to auction old fire apparatus, police vehicles, and DPW surplus equipment.
I'm
We
gonna get
do
rid of the
this
junk.
every year. Any questions from the council? Like to entertain them? Yes.
Police, fire chief isn't here?
No, he's not.
So was one of these vehicles the old ambulance?
Yes.
Is it a wreck?
It's not a wreck.
Could it be used as the hazard response vehicle?
I've left that up to the police chief to determine whether or not that's something they would do.
Well, it would be the fire chief,
But no, I don't think so. I think that the one that they're looking to get rid of are, they're not wrecked, but they're gonna cost us a lot more money to get them back on the road than it would be to.
I thought he already had one.
No,
for
he
that.
doesn't, but he wanted to, and I brought it up once before, so. Before we get rid of a vehicle that might be useful.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move that we approve for the town administrator to authorize the town administrator to advertise, to auction off the old fire apparatus, police vehicles, and DPW surplus equipment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made.
Dennis seconded.
Oh, Dennis seconded. Motion been made in second. All those in favor? DPW Director Rogers. Hi, Rick. Update on 2023-2024 snow plowing sanding.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. For the winter season, as we've done for many, many years, DPW is advertising and hiring independent operators who have their own snowplow equipment and also drivers to drive DPW trucks. This is for community safety purposes and to assist in alleviating excessive hours worked by DPW staff. We've advertised on the town web, posted signs on various roads, called and emailed potential operators and drivers, and spoken with various contractors to make them aware of our hiring. We have received some commitments from independents and drivers, but are still looking for more. DPW, by the way, pays the same as RIDOT. They match the RIDOT rates. I wanted to update the council, and of course, if there are any suggestions on how to attract operators or drivers, we would certainly listen to them and implement them as we can.
Any questions? John?
So, just for clarification purposes, so this is to hire people to operate the town vehicles that the DPW workers, when they come off a shift or something, how does that work?
It's for two things. People with their own vehicles, John, with the plows and sanders, and also to augment drivers for our trucks. So they don't have to have their own. If we have a truck available for somebody that can drive a truck, then we would use them.
So for the big rigs that we've got, we're talking a CDL, right, to be able to drive one of those?
But anything over the 27,000 GVW, which is most of our trucks, yes, you need a CDL. But again, it's the whole purpose is to augment our staff and to assist in alleviating excessive work hours.
So last year, we had 6 of the 9 routes were subcontractors. And what we're trying to do is try to get the same place.
Got
it. Is
not
that
quite the 6, but yes, we had the 6, but they had to also share.
Right, no, it was a combination of what
Yeah.
was done. But we're trying to have additional resources to augment our 9 routes.
So just, again, for clarification purposes, so our guys, they come in, they drive the truck, they tap out, and somebody else hops in that's not a town employee but is a subcontractor?
It all depends on the circumstances. Sometimes we have to have more drivers and operators than we have routes because you need more than one on a route. It's not eliminating any of the normal work hours by DPW. It's just augmenting the staff. So in theory, yes, they could sign out and somebody else could take over. But to attract the operators and the drivers, you have to give them the hours that they're seeking, because you can't just say, come in once in a while. If they're going to commit to the town, you have to give them the hours to make it worthwhile. Nobody will commit to having their equipment assigned to Tiverton and just say, okay, you'll call me maybe. They're going to go somewhere else. It's also one of the reasons we match DOT rates, because we can't keep them. If DOT is paying more than we are, we're not going to keep them. And they're working closer to home for the most part, so it's more attractive to them, hopefully, that we also match the DOT rates.
So I'm glad you said that, because that's the point that I was driving at, is I just want to make sure that we have guys that we pay less than DOT rates, right? So for us to be paying somebody more dollars when we have guys in-house that could be doing those routes, I just want to make sure we're not adding cost because we're bringing in drivers and guaranteeing them hours, and that means those hours are going to come at the expense of some of our employees who would be more cost-effective for the town.
Not with overtime.
Yes, and not only that, you can't work 48 hours in a row, for instance. So yes, you have to balance the whole picture with nobody will commit to the town without the town committing to them.
So who hits the routes first in this scenario? Let's say world, we get nine contractors.
Both of them hit.
Okay, so
whether our guys are doing routes or whatever it is that they're doing, whether they're pushing back on corners or cleaning up roads, it's irrelevant. We're hiring outside contractors to do snow plowing and sanding and salting, regardless. Our guys have enough work to do as it is. So we're not taking any work away from anybody. Nobody's losing a job, nobody's losing hours.
That's not what I'm alleging, by the way. I just want to understand how it works.
Well, we can't have somebody sitting there waiting till 3:30. It doesn't work that way, John. They're going to commit to working, we're going to put them to work. That's the only way we can get them.
But our guys are working also.
Yeah, they are. We're not taking any work from our guys.
And that's the question that I'm asking. So if we have 9 routes with 9 subcontractors, we also have 9 routes ideally filled by 9 of our employees, and they're working in tandem.
Correct.
Okay.
What's the DOT rate?
The DOT rates are based on the GVW of the truck, the size of the plow, whether the plow is a 4-way.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's pages of different. But we are
It'd
happy
be
to.
different if it's our vehicle. too.
Algebraic.
Yes. And we email anybody who's interested, plus, of course, it's online anyways. But we email anybody interested, they tell us what they have, and we can do it for them, or they can simply look online or look on our email that we send.
And we don't have people jumping for
No.
these positions,
I understand that.
ever.
They're advertising everywhere. What about the insurance? Because that was an issue at some point with
Yes.
their own personal vehicles.
So we've resolved that matter. That matter was a misnomer. They're allowed to get an umbrella insurance over their commercial insurance rates.
And Deb, as Chris said, that's much cheaper than a general policy.
And the trust is fine with it.
Are we, let's say somebody brings their own truck. Are we filling the back of that truck with our own sand and salt?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure. Make sure we're not buying additional sand and salt because we just bought a whole bunch of it.
We.
Or we're going to.
Right. Yes. So we definitely have to supply the sand and salt, but their rates include all their maintenance, all their upkeep, their own fuel, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that was just an update anyhow.
Yeah.
Kurt.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rick. Town Administrator Solicitor Marcelo.
Just there,
Solicitor Todd.
Solicitor Todd Romano. Discussion possible vote to authorize community septic system program. Loan program.
So a few years ago, I was before you to increase the funding that we had to borrow more money from the state's infrastructure, Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. That money is come and gone. It's a very popular program. We've gone through I believe it was $600,000 that we borrowed back in 2020.
I thought it was 900.
There is excuse me?
Was that 900?
We did. We got 900. There were $300,000 sitting in arrears.
Got it.
They only allocate $600,000 at a time, so there's another $600,000 that has already been pre-approved. They just need to create a new loan document for it, which, what you have in front of you is a copy of what the last loan document looked like and what the last solicitor's letter looked like. All those, we're just seeking permission to do the same thing. The infrastructure bank will create the documents, and Mike's office will create the solicitor's letter affirming that the town's able to do this. And we have a ton of applicants in the wings waiting for this money.
This is a super, super important program for the
It
community.
is.
Super.
It is one of the best programs this town provides. Of all the years we've been doing it, we've had one delinquency, and it's on getting reimbursed for the tax roll. So it does work.
All right.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the community, or the C-SLIP program, the loan agreement for the additional $600,000 as requested by the administrator and the solicitor.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Town Administrator, update on municipal technical assistant grants to facilitate ordinance changes as related to recent legislation, changes related to housing, and to facilitate a joint project with Stonebridge Water, North Tiverton Water, State Water Resource Board, and the town with respect to water needs and hydrology study, yeah.
So we did get the scope of work created by Weston Sampson for the A section of this, for the legislative changes that were recently passed. The planning board is working diligently, and the zoning changes committee is working diligently doing that. But there is a scope of work that Rhode Island Housing is working with Weston Sampson now to be finalized with. The grant was approved at $100,000. They're finalizing that now to come back for signature. Once that's done, we'd be able to move forward. For A. B, the scope of work was just tentatively submitted last Friday. We believe that that will also go through the same process where we'll get an affirmation from Rhode Island Housing, where Weston and Sampson will create that scope of work as well. They have an engineering section of their firm that does specializes in hydrology matters. They've drafted that in conjunction. We will get that back to both the water authorities after this grant is approved, and we will work our way through that. But it are two very successful grants that will help move this town forward. So I would ask that we
We don't have to.
We're just giving an update on
Yeah.
it, that's right. And we don't need the,
Nope.
and there is no match to those, by the way. Although I did allude to in the grants that because of all the work that our committees are doing, we are basically affirming that we are matching that, but it's without any requirement.
Okay.
And then on the next item, on the, I already did the water studies. Thanks.
Yes, update on USDA grant related to groundwater mitigation related to landfill.
So Chief Jones and myself have been working with USDA to, we found there was a pocket of monies that were available for groundwater mitigation issues and stormwater management issues, both significant issues as it relates to the landfill closure. Knowing that we have a shortfall of money on the landfill closure, we proffered to USDA that there are a number of things that we still haven't committed to with the landfill closure. One of them being a security matter with the fence. That there are a number of issues that would be eligible for this pocket of money that's out there. The chief has done a first draft of the application. I'm reviewing that draft now, finalizing it, but we would like to get it submitted by the end of next week if possible, so that we can have an answer as quickly as possible. The money we already know has been earmarked and parked. We're pretty much assured that we should be able to get this. We've already got congressional delegation letters of support for this. I'm in the middle of drafting that letter from the community as well, but we would like to proceed to do that. And again, there'll be no match to this.
Perfect. All right, thank you. I am going to table I
Okay.
until we come out of executive.
Okay.
Yep. J, Town Administrator, Council Edwards, the fifth, discussion and possible vote to proceed with Governor McKee's Learn365 initiative with Tiverton School creating and managing programs.
So again, this is the meeting that we had with the governor last week with John, Representative Council Edwards, John Edwards, and the governor's staff. The governor was somewhat disappointed that there are 3 communities in the state that have not signed up for this program, Tiverton being one of them. He wanted to know what our concerns were. I laid out at least my concerns about as best as I could, that I do think that there's not a member of this town council or the administration that is not supportive of education, but these programs don't belong on the administrative side of this government, that it belongs with the school department. The governor kind of agreed that, with our, not agreed that with our position, he agreed that that was a methodology that could be used. Even if we didn't take any money, he was just basically looking for the town to commit that we would be supportive of his Learn365. But in the meantime, I did reach out to Peter Sanchioni, the superintendent of the school system, and I kind of addressed the same issues with him, and if he had programs that would be supportive of combating absenteeism, providing better testing scores, and I think the third item was providing parent assistance with the FAFSA form applications, that we would be willing to partner with the school system to provide whatever available funding is for programs that they could draft.
But
The
they
superintendent
would-
did
but
say.
They would do the administrative work.
They would do the work, that the grant would still come through the administrative end of the town and be granted to the school. And our other concern with it was that it could not have an effect on.
So really, in my opinion, there's 2 things happening here, right? Number one, this is a political decision, like first and foremost, because we are one of 3 communities that have not yet signed on to the governor's thing. We do not want to be an outlier, right? Let the other 2 communities be the outlier, not us. And as the governor said, we don't have to take a dime. We can just sign on to the accord, and he's happy. Now, if we do want to take a dime, I think the benefit here is that it's the town that would be the one getting the dollars. So we're doing it outside of something that would impact the maintenance of effort. We're creating essentially a program that's being created with essentially one-time dollars. So if the school department were to go out and hire staff, those staff are dependent upon those grant dollars. And once those grant dollars dry up, those staff go away, as typically happens with other grants. And because it's coming through this, the state grant program, through the municipality, it's not going to impact what we do on the budget side, because these are just extra dollars. We're the conduit to go get those dollars. And so it shouldn't impact maintenance of effort because of the way that it's structured.
So the school superintendent said he was supportive of, even if the monies did dry up, that he would still want to go forward with the programs.
I've heard that before.
I know, but that's, I'm just letting you know.
So my comment on this is, once you create a program and then try to take it away, that's when it hits the fan. And once people are mentally enrolled in the process and are using it, and then you say, oh, well, it's not funded anymore, and we're not gonna fund it anymore, that's gonna be tough.
You can see that point, right, John?
I absolutely can.
And you can, right, and you can see all the school people coming to us saying we don't care
And
about their
roads.
children anymore because we won't fund this anymore.
But I would also say, and this,
Then it will be part of maintenance of that.
but this,
Keep that in mind too.
but this is, it will, that, ultimately, that's what would happen.
Yes.
But, you know, as we talked about earlier, we've got a couple of issues going on that we need the governor's support in order to get rectified, like a dock
So
and.
is this a political campaign thing?
I said very clearly at the front, this is a political decision first, and secondarily, there might be some dollars that we could go get, or we don't get any dollars. But if we don't sign the document, like, you know, Chris, you might as well just throw the letter in the trash that we're gonna send to the governor.
Can we really just sign it and not do anything?
Correct.
And not take the money.
And by the way, I
Well,
was,
it's already in the back with my name on it and everything.
and by the way,
He would want to
Oh,
do
he
it.
left it there for me.
He would, in order for you to sign it, he would want to do a public.
you will be, yes, this will be a public thing. There'll probably be news cameras here. It'll be great publicity for you. The other thing is they have it,
Don't need any more
they did give me beta access, they gave me the beta address to some of the data, and just for what it's worth for those paying attention at home, one of the top schools as far as low absenteeism is literally right down the street from us, so at Fort Barton.
Yeah.
Top in the state, like we're like second or third.
City.
Yeah, and that's across all of the schools, across all of the communities in the state. So we're, and honestly, like every single school that we have is like top quartile, if not even higher. So, you know.
In the high school?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything's like 95% attendance or above. So the schools are doing great there. I mean, again, if there's an opportunity to go snatch some state dollars, you know, as long as the schools are aware that when the dollars dry up, the programs dry up, and we're going to be the ones going to get the dollars for them, and then handing them off to them. So I'm pretty sure we can set the conditions when they get the loans to know, like, or when they get the grant money, like when the money goes away, you know, we're not going to fund this. This is one-time money. But we'll be doing that at a public hearing like this that's recorded.
It's an effort.
No, it will not.
No.
After the grant.
No, this money is not at
No,
all.
right.
That's why they're not going through right.
Right, but listen.
That's why they're going
so-
through us.
So once this money is dried out, but the programs still continue, and somehow we fund them, now it's maintenance of effort.
If we fund them.
Yeah.
Right.
If.
Be careful.
Lots of luck trying, not funding them.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm against,
I'm just worried.
But again,
about
we on the council have to be the ones to go get the money. So if they come to us and they say, we want to go get $6 million to do, whatever, crazy numbers, right? So they come and say, we want $6 million to do all this stuff.
The whole program's only $4 million. for
Exactly.
years.
Again,
For all
I'm
states.
using aggressive language here. You know, we could just simply say, look, guys, let's be real. Like, we're not going to fund this program. This money's going to dry up in the blink of an eye. Like, let's look for something else.
all right, so right
But,
now.
so I just want to clear something though. No different than their IDA grants and their Chapter 1 grants.
Right.
When they go away and they try to subsidize them within the budget, you can see an increase in the budget. You don't have to fund that increase in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not going to try to, but we can clearly identify that these monies are not to
Well,
be.
in order for me to even vote, I would have to see what good it did do. And what our numbers look like. And if there's a piece of this program that really helped bring up attendance,
Mhm.
or helped people, whatever it needed to.
Learning loss or whatever the case may be.
Whatever.
Yep.
But I would have to see proof that this was really beneficial.
Especially if we're already the leaders.
I would also add to, like, because again, the governor did mention that other communities, they have rec departments, they have rec centers and all this other stuff. You know, we don't have that today, but we did authorize a study to figure out what we want to do would we give them like $75,000 to recreation to start the process to look at, are we going to build a rec center or something? This could be future dollars 5 years down the road, assuming the governor gets reelected and the program continues or a successor continues it. So I just think, at least from a political standpoint, it would be a foolish move for us not to sign it, even if all we ever do is just sign it.
So I have to take a vote? All right, so I need a motion?
Madam President,
Proceed with the government. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make the motion for you. I'm going to make a motion that we proceed with the Learn365 initiative and have direct the town council president, and I guess the administrator, I think both signatures need to be on there, to sign the document.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but with discussion that we don't have to take that money if,
He was very upfront that we could sign the document and not take a penny, and that would be fine.
Do I agree with, that's what he said? Yes.
He said that directly in the meeting when Chris said,
Are you comfortable with this?
Yeah, I am. I have no issue with it.
we physically have to go apply for the money and then be granted it and then accept the grant and then transmit those dollars to the school. So
So the schools would have to draft something for us to
Oh, yeah.
review and look at.
Do we need to put that in the motion?
No.
Okay.
You should just clarify.
Me too.
That it's not to apply for funds or however you want to word it.
Right, it's just to
Just
support-
right now to approve or
my motion,
support the project.
my motion was just to sign the accord.
Vote to proceed with the government, to,
To support the governor's Learn365 initiative
By signing the accord. And
Okay.
and direct the
That's better.
council president and the administrator to sign the accord.
That's better.
It's definitely better.
Deb, do you second that?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Okay, the last
And the
item
last thing,
is just an update on
update on
the,
annual, yeah.
so.
This is like a deja vu.
It is. The
Every year.
RIDE has come up with a change in their protocol on their UOA reconciliation. The school, in order to complete our audit, the town is done with their side of the audit. The school can't reconcile the UCOA accounts because they're going from 32 digits to 16 digits, and they need an extension until January to complete that work. So there's a blanket extension going to the Auditor General now. I'm just bringing it up to date that that's where we are. So the audit is going to be a little bit late.
This happens every year.
Shouldn't, but
It does, it happens every year.
there's a new Auditor General too, by the way, who will not grant extensions blindly. So the letters have already been drafted by the audit firm, and they are on their way to the Auditor General now, who's well aware of what the issue is. So.
All right. So I'd like to go, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session, Town Administrative, Rhode Island, General Law 4246581, Personnel, Job Performance, Annual Evaluation for Tax Assessor David Roberts, notice given. B, Council President D. Maderas, Rhode Island General Law 4246582, session pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, and/or Rhode Island General Law 4246584, any investigation proceeding regarding allegations of misconduct, either civil or criminal. These pertain to the Tiverton firefighters. Town Solicitor, Rhode Island General Law 4246582, litigation, Highland Ridge Farm LLC versus Town of Tiverton et al., NC-2023-260. Discussion and possible vote to authorize the solicitor to negotiate and enter into a temporary agreement regarding stay of enforcement. Town Solicitor, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, Town of Tiverton v. Longplex and Tiverton Zoning Board of Appeals, litigation update.
So moved. Second, yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Executive session in 5 minutes.